Welcome everyone. This is the University of Exeter's annual Engineers in Business competition run by SETsquared Exeter Student Startups and funded by the wider Engineers in Business competition scheme from the Sainsbury Management Fellows. So at its essence, Elevate is a celebration of the entrepreneurial spirit of this university's students. Brings together undergraduate and postgraduate student engineers, as well as recent graduate engineers, all with the aspirations to embark on their own innovative entrepreneurial pathways. Now, I've had the pleasure of working with each of the 9 teams pitching today over the past few weeks, and I cannot wait for them to share their business ideas with you all this afternoon. They're going to be pitching for a share of a £3,000 prize pot with a top prize of £1,500. So it's exciting stuff. Before we kick off, however, it seems only fair and right that I introduce you to our fantastic panel who will be quizzing each of our student teams to understand just why their ideas are valuable, viable and scalable. So first of all, if you can give us a wave. First of all, we've got Kerry Howells, who is Senior Lecturer in Engineering and Entrepreneurship here at the University of Exeter. Next, we have Emily Davies. Emily, give us a wave. So Emily is SETsquared Student Startup Manager, years of experience nurturing startups here at the university. We also have Colin Dart. Where's Colin on my screen? There he is, waving. Technology Manager over at SETsquared Exeter at the Exeter Science Park. And last, but by no means least, we have, really exciting, a guest panelist today, Harsh Shah. Harsh has over 15 years, he's waving there, over 15 years international experience working with blue chip groups, SMEs and startups in growth strategy and finance. He's really passionate about shaping the world through engineering and technology. Harsh is also a Sainsbury Management Fellow and board member and trustee of the Engineers in Business Fellowship charity, who of course is supporting today's competition. It's really great to have you here, Harsh, so thank you for joining.
Thank you.
There we go. Oh, I've just been spotlighted. That's terrifying. So just a reminder for everyone for today's proceedings. Each team are going to have 6 minutes to present their pitch. Teams, should you run over, I will be jumping in and stopping you just to ensure that we have enough time, to bring in the panel for 8 minutes of Q&A. Judges, just a reminder, if you have got a burning question for the pitching team, you particularly want to make sure you get in there, please wave or raise the little hand emoji, which Colin is so eloquently demonstrating now, so that you can kind of help us come to you first. We're not going to have time for questions from the audience during the event, but we would really encourage anyone with questions, comments, connections, general feedback to post those over in the chat this way, or you can send those via email to studentstartups@exeter.ac.uk, and we can share those with student teams after the event. Just a quick bit of housekeeping for the audience. We are recording the event, so do just be aware of that. Please do keep your mics muted throughout the event, including team members who aren't pitching. It's just going to help us kind of reduce that Zoom echo. And while we'd really love to have been able to do this in person, we are of course confined to the good old Zoom. So if you are able, please do have your video on. This is really going to help our teams with their pitches. And it also helps us pretend that we're in a room full of excited faces, so don't be camera shy. With this in mind, we would also like to encourage you to offer a round of applause of sorts for each team before and after their pitch. So we will be adopting the well-known BSL round of applause, which goes something like this. So we're going to keep you lively and moving with that round of applause. So if everyone could just have a little practice now with their round of applause. Yeah, we'll get the ice broken. That's great. Kerry looks horrified. There it is. Brilliant. We will pause for a break halfway through, so after the first 5 pitches, just for 10 minutes, give everyone a chance to stretch their legs. But without kind of further ado, I think we'll get things off and we'll introduce you to the first team of the day with their pitch. That will be Andy Clear, Christian Woolhouse and Zach Tuff with their business, augmented reality creations. So let's give them the first super enthusiastic round of applause, and we'll hand over to them.
Hi everyone. If someone could let Zach in when he arrives, it's before the end of the pitch, so you can help with the questions.
We'll look out for him, Andy.
Let me share my screen. All right. If all good, then yeah, ready to start the timer.
Get going.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for being here. Thanks for having us. We are Augmented Reality Creations. We're a team of 3, so it's myself and Chris, who are Exeter students here, and Zach, who's a recent graduate. And we started ARC to create valuable, non-gimmicky AR tools that would be of real use for people. And following on from Zach's dissertation and talking to people in the industry, we focused our first product, which is called In Place, on the home improvement market, in particular on glazed extensions and garden rooms. So the problems that we've found from talking to people is that showrooms cost a lot of money and they're expensive to keep running. They're hard to scale up and they're not in your garden. So however good your showroom is, you can't show someone a conservatory on their house. Not to mention that COVID limits visits to your showrooms and also limits your visits to people's houses. And a big problem is that you send your lovely drawings to a client and then they just give them to someone else who would build it for cheaper. And that's something that a lot of companies suffer. So what we're offering is to quickly and cheaply build a virtual AR showroom on mobile AR, so on your phone or your tablet. So your designs become immersive, explorable spaces in place in someone's garden. They can see how it interacts with the garden, their house, and it's all based on the principle that greater visualization inspires greater desire. Not to mention that we can secure your designs because your clients never have a physical copy, they have an access code that allows them to use it. The market we're working in is a big number there, 55 billion. That's been spent since the first lockdown in March on home improvements in the UK. That translates to roughly 4,000 per house on average throughout the UK, which is a lot. So there's 9,000 conservatory installers, and you're talking 7 to 20k for a conservatory project and 10 to 30k for a garden room project, just to give you a scale, little idea of the scale there. At the moment, we've got 3 test companies. We have a modular buildings architect, a garden rooms developer, and we've been really lucky to have the #1 conservatory supplier in the Southeast, who have 30 salespeople running this trial for us. They have people using it right now, today, selling, which is really exciting. The main competitors in the market, 2 companies, LPS Roofright and PST Online. Both of them only allow AR viewing of their own software, design software, whereas we allow AR viewing of all CAD models and all conservatory design softwares, which allows us to rapidly scale beyond where they are. Not to mention they also are optimized for virtual reality. So for people who don't know, virtual reality is like on your face, strapped on, and you fully immerse in it, whereas augmented reality is in your hands, in your phone or tablet, so you partially immerse. The revenue streams we're working on, so the app is free to use, so we don't want any boundaries stopping people downloading and using our app. But if you want to add your models to the system for viewing, you pay one of our tiered subscriptions. So we've just gone for the standard 3 subscriptions. Most people will hopefully pay with the 150 mark, but we can move it. And we'll allow for multi-seat for the bigger companies, like our ones in the Southeast. By the start of June, we're aiming for 30 subscriptions, which allows us to self-sustain and fund ourselves and to continue growing. And of those 9,000 installers, we want to have 200 subscribed by the start of 2022. To tell you where we are development-wise, so we have an industry-specific investor who's a non-exec director in our company. He provides really useful industry knowledge and contacts, and he runs our marketing through one of his companies. As we said earlier, we're in our testing phase with those companies, and we're building up our web presence. We have a new website launching end of this month, should be, unless it's late. And for the product, what we have at the moment is your designer can log onto our website, upload a model, we'll convert that behind the scenes and display it with a code in our app. The whole process takes a minute when it works. It's still under development, so obviously most models that we've got working is great, some models aren't perfect. We're planning on launching for selling it in the middle of May. We were going to do start of May, but I realized I had loads of exams. And we're going to do paper publications through our investor, but also we're going to do targeted LinkedIn and Facebook advertising in May. And then, yeah, to tell you where we want to take things. So the next project, we've started this now, is a window and door replacing AR app. So whenever we talk to a company, we show them the thing, they say, wow, that's great. I love seeing it in conservatories. Can I do windows and doors? And the answer is yes, but not yet. So that's where we're going for. So were we to get the 1500 from this, that would go into computer vision research to mobile optimize a lot of the computer vision because it's resource heavy for the phones. And then beyond that, we're looking to go into the wider construction augmented reality market with a few projects there. And that's the quick, just before 6 minutes is up. I look forward to any questions, and you can ask Zach Tuff or Chris Woodhouse to help.
Thanks, Andy. That was brilliant.
No problem.
Unshared your screen. That is wonderful. Lovely. I think we will hand straight over to panel. Is there anyone waving at me to get the questions started? Yeah, Emily's waving. Great.
So I was waiting to see if I know I've met you guys before. I'm really interested, like with the pilot that you have going at the moment. Like how are you testing that? Like what are you testing within it? Is it like how the salespeople would use the app, or how customers respond? Like if it increases ultimately sales for the company. So how are you doing that validation piece?
So the metrics we're running on is how quickly does the sale happen using this, and whether there's a reduction, as well as has the salesperson managed to increase the project value by using our app. So, you know, has they said, actually, you could have these doors, they're more expensive, but have a look. And we're being quite vague with what we tell the salespeople testing, because we want them to use it for things we haven't thought of as such. So yeah, so what we have 2 salespeople in Southeast who literally design models, upload them to the system. We're there to check it works, but beyond that, we have no intervention. And we just want to see what they do with it.
Okay, that's interesting.
Colin, you're waving furiously. Go on.
Waving, it's furious. Hi guys, really good pitch. So a couple of questions. I think first and foremost, the revenue streams, the kind of cost analysis. Obviously, you've got some figures up there, and you've done some market research. Have you done market research around that kind of cost viability for your kind of, I'm going to say customers, not clients? You know, so those salespeople, the similar kind of subscription models. What kind of market research have you done around that?
Yeah, so we've compared to Zach's in. Great. We've compared to CAD subscriptions, those would be significantly more expensive than us. And then those 2 companies that I said were our competition, the RPS and the PST. So they offer AR as an extension onto their software packages. And that adds between 150 and 200 pounds on. But it is not at a level of where our system is. So the real trick is to sell someone a tool that they didn't know existed. And that's where we have to get our price right. So beyond comparing to existing softwares, we've had a lot of, I'm always trying to ask people what they pay, and no one ever says what they pay, but it's a conversation that we have with a lot of clients, and we should have that set for our launch price, which will be around 150 by May. So we've got a bit of time for research there.
Excellent. There isn't another question. Oh, there you go. There is another.
Yeah, so I've had the pleasure of watching Andy's pitch before in Eng 1006, but the one thing that I wanted a little bit to clarify here is that you said at the start of your pitch that you were going to go for more consumer side of things, looking at furniture and stuff you mentioned, and then you also mentioned the more industrial commercial type conservatory approach as well. Are you angling this app towards the brand new iPhones with the LiDAR technology built in, which may be more accurate? Or are you going to the everyday folk with a range of different operating systems and different quality cameras, which will then adjust your tolerances for when you're suggesting these designs? So is it going to be sales reps applied with specific technology that use your app, or consumers across a broad range of different bits of technology?
That's a really good question. It's absolutely consumers with, you know, an old iPhone. That's the whole point. Is VR is inaccessible because it's expensive and new. AR is accessible because you can run it on a lot of devices, and if we can pare the app down enough, you can run it on really old devices. So I mean, we're already looking 2 or 3 year old Androids and iPhones. Pretty much most of them will do it. Zach, I don't know if you, I mean, it's exciting to think that we could use LiDAR and create this amazing thing. But realistically, the market is 100 times bigger with more simple tech. And so, you know, if we wouldn't want, you know, a salesperson could turn up to a house with an iPad, but we don't need them to have a $2,000 iPad. You know, it's just basic tech.
And just to follow up, what's the accuracy then, the tolerance of your accuracy when you're scanning using an older phone with not as good camera compared to the more expensive? What's the accuracy on the tolerance of your design or the quote that you're going to quote the customers? So have you got some sort of system in place to be able to adjust for that tolerance, or are your quotes?
Even an older iPhone will give you the same sort of quality as a sort of a newer one. And the sort of the technology that they use, it sort of feeds in at the same level throughout, sort of thing. So you don't need the brand new iPhone. You can get an iPhone 6s Plus sort of thing, and you'll be fine. So yeah, there's a massive range of devices that it can be used on.
Great, thanks, Gary. And Hash, I saw you put your hand up. Please feel free to take the floor.
Great. Well, thank you, Andy and team, for a solid pitch. Just a couple of questions. First one is, you started off by saying that you think, you know, COVID has created an environment where demand for this service will could be higher, and what happens in a post-COVID world, or as things start to normalize? So question one, and then the second question is, on your pricing, I see you're looking at a recurring kind of monthly subscription type model. Do you think you might get a bit more traction if actually you priced it on a per view basis, or per AR basis? And have you thought about that? It'd be good to get your thoughts on that. So just those 2 points. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Hush. So the first one there, post-COVID, we're running under the idea that the COVID world has shown that you don't have to do everything in person. So if you are a salesperson, you can suddenly sell a conservatory to someone who's a 2-hour drive away, whereas before that would knock out half of your day. So there's a benefit there. And also, we spent a lot of time thinking about how we can, I was saying you don't need a showroom, but were you to have a showroom, if you put aside a small section of space, then that can be your AR section of your showroom, where you can really highlight some fantastic designs without ever building them. So there's ways of integrating it into without ever thinking about social distancing measures or whatever. And as for the pricing, yeah, the pricing has been one of our major issues for working it out. We've had thoughts that it would be quite nice, let's say you were not a professional, you just wanted to view something you did yourself. It'd be really nice to be able to just buy one-off viewing. At the same time, we didn't want that to invalidate a more expensive subscription. We think we can probably generate more revenue and have more engagement with our customers on a subscription-based model, which is why we've chosen to go down that route. A lot of the softwares are built annually. I think that would put people off, trying to tell people to use a new tech that doesn't exist in their world and then pay 1,200 quid. No one's going to do it. So we've toyed about with it, but at the moment we think we're pretty happy with the subscription model.
Got it.
Thanks. Thanks, Andy, and thanks, Ash, for your questions. We will need to wrap up for you guys there, so thank you so much.
Thanks all.
Ace. Round of applause. If you have got any, panel audience, if you've got any more comments or feedback for the guys, then feel free to leave those in the chat, or you can email those over to studentstartups@exeter.ac.uk, and we'll pick them up and collate them for those guys at the end. But time now for our second pitch of the afternoon. If we can welcome Yamo and Celine and their business, New You, to the floor.
Hello, thank you very much.
Thank
so
you.
if Celine can share her screen. Yeah.
And I will mute myself because it might be echoing. Just a moment. Okay, can you see that?
We can indeed.
Wonderful. If you can make it full screen, Celine. Perfect. If everybody's ready, we're more than ready. Let's start. Hello, everyone. We are New You. Let's meet the founders. I am Yağmur Kırım, studying engineering and management at the University of Exeter. My business partner is Selin Özmen, who is also my high school best friend. Selin is studying genetics and bioengineering at the Economy University. If you're wondering who we are, here is the answer. New You is an online application that helps people who want to be physically fitter but do not have the motivation to do so. How we define fitter depends on the personal desires of the client, but we aim to increase the overall strength, flexibility, and cardiovascular health of the client. Let's see how we help to achieve these goals. New You matches people with same fitness goals while ensuring their height, weight, and ages are similar in order to have people with similar metabolisms get matched. Personal trainer guidance is offered to customers by New You as well. We acknowledge that COVID-19 had great negative impacts on society's mental health. Loneliness was at peak and eating disorders showed up. We are here to improve our users' mental health by allowing them to socialize in a safe fashion while achieving their best selves. This overall results in minimizing the illnesses caused by being over and underweight as well. We know that one of the most important things in a company is a strong company culture, which ensures not only good, but great customer service. Here you can see New You's core principles and values. There is no place for racism and body shaming and can never be tolerated. Security is one of our biggest priorities. Therefore, we will ask for double identity checks, including users' phone number and email address. Finally, our client's success is our success. Only thing that matters for New You is the smile that we put on our client's face. Every great idea has a beginning. Now let's see ours. My mom, yes, you heard it right. Everything started with her weight loss journey. She has been trying to lose weight for at least 10 years and tried tens of methods. Results were all negative. However, every time I joined her, I saw her enthusiasm increasing and she wanted to keep up with the workouts more than she normally does. The downside of me working out with her was due to my higher metabolism because of my age, I saw the results of the workouts way faster than her. The competitive instincts in human nature, of course, decreased her motivation and resulted in her giving up again. It was very clear that she needed a fitness buddy who had similar metabolism. I opened up to Celine about this problem, and we decided that an application like New You could help loads of people like my mom. We can divide our target audience into two profiles, which are regular users who are gender non-specific, mostly middle-aged people with little or no experience in fitness, who are willing to work out but demotivated, intermediate fitness people who are searching for fitness buddies, and finally, people who just want to track their fitness progress. On the other hand, we have personal trainers as clients as well, who are new to the industry, need to increase the number of their clients, as well as the extra income. Our market and customer research show us that the majority of our target audience is mostly active on Facebook, which means that the prior social media platform that we will advertise New You will be Facebook. One of the most important topics is revenue generation. An idea is not a business unless it generates revenue. We will be taking commissions from the personal trainer fees. NewView also offers a premium package subscription, which creates an environment to monitor monthly progress, including BMI graphs, personalized meal preparation, and calorie tracking. This also allows the user to match with people nearby as well. We are still not sure about the in-app advertisements, considering a clean app will definitely attract more clients rather than having lots of pop-ups, but it is still an option that we may want to consider. Our competitors may be strong, but not as strong as us. Let's see our biggest competitor, Trainio. Trainio offers free weight loss network where the user can log and track their calorie burning goals. Additionally, the users can choose for motivators. However, NewView's unique selling points outshine Trainio's key qualities. We're not only aiming to help people who want to lose weight, but also gain weight, improve flexibility, and strength levels. In order to create a more user-friendly environment, motivators are not selected by the users, but automatically assigned to avoid unnecessary contacts. Finally, personal trainer guidance is another perk Trainio does not offer, but NewView does. Our second biggest competitor is embodiment. The aspects that embodiment offers are also included within this metrics analysis. A successful business is a scalable business. In the future, we aim to build gyms special for NewView users, as well as to design wearable fitness equipments. The combination of these two aspects will create a remarkable fitness experience for the clients. We are also aware of the developing industry. Another option that we may consider is to expand our services to personal care industries such as meditation and yoga. It is crucial to use the funding responsibly. We will use the possible fund for educational purposes. Celine and I want to code NewView ourselves in order to have full control of the application while adding value to our careers as well. We need to enroll to an app development course to improve our skills. Great and on-spot advertisements can attract thousands of clients. Therefore, possible fund also will be used to advertise NewView. It will help with the business registration costs as well. In addition to that, we have an example of how NewView works. If you would like to see it, just let us know. This concludes our presentation, and please ask us any questions you may have. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you both. That was fantastic. Yeah, round of applause. Love that ending slide. That was a really lively pitch. Thank you. If you're okay to just unshare your screen so we can see your faces, that would be wonderful. Thank you. I think we can all kind of identify with some of those fitness goals that you've identified there, especially in the recent months. Hopefully the panel is feeling equally motivated and ready to ask questions. They're nodding along. Any volunteers? Right, we'll start with Kerry. Kerry, over to you for Q&A.
Just one really quick question for me before I have a little more, think of a few more questions, is your target market, when you said you were going to get other people to help motivate your clients, how is that connection going to be made? Is that strictly virtual, or is it sort of like a meetup where you have a local catchment to try and get those physically meeting and go into gym, as in gym buddies, let's say, or is it strictly virtual like Strava, Nike Plus sort of realm? And that's it for me for now.
That's a great question. The thing that we're currently focusing on is an online environment. Therefore, the personal contacts are not a thing that we're offering due to the coronavirus restrictions. And also we're thinking that the possible unnecessary connections, if we enable the in-person connections and contacts, it's just up to our clients whether they want to contact the person that they're matched with in person. We're not offering it.
Brilliant. Thank you, Kerry. Emily?
Yes. I have like 100 questions, but I won't ask you 100. Just a couple of questions. So firstly, I just like in terms of, I don't want to always be the one talking about market research and validation, but in terms of like, apart from your experience with your mum, like how many people have you spoken to, particularly with your sort of target demographic, to understand like how they would want to engage? And for example, like do they regularly use apps, and is that is a virtual relationship one that they are interested in having in that kind of buddying up system?
Thank you very much for your question, Emily. Firstly, rather than my mum, we have also discussed about this application with my mum's close friends who are just like my mum, and in addition to that, also Celine's aunt. And her close friends. However, in the future, when I say in the future, in close future, we're planning to use Google Forms and some kind of professional platforms in order to reach out to more people, even more than thousands, to understand the market demand more than we do at the moment. And we believe that when a customer pays for something, they're always more committed to keeping up with that, because they know that they have paid for it, so they kind of feel like they're forced to do it. The premium subscription and personal trainer guide is going to help them entering the application more often. And also, finally, we're planning to have streaks. For example, if they enter to our application for 1 month without any interruptions, we're going to give them a present such as an fitness equipment.
Yeah, because I think I guess just some advice would be, I think, because you're so passionate and you have so much energy, and like I love that. I think it's amazing, and that really comes across. I think it's just like making sure that you have those conversations really soon, so that you don't build something first on the assumptions that you think you know what people want, and then show it to people and they go, well, that's not what I'm looking for at all. So it's just like making sure that you have those conversations soon would be some advice.
Of course,
Yeah,
perfect.
I will let
Thank
Colin.
you.
I think Colin has questions.
Okay, sorry, I'm going to just jump in. So I have one question and then one consideration for you. So the first question is, really interesting in the matching. You know, I see that as a USP, but you didn't really talk about what that really meant, whether or not that was simply just kind of directory listings. Again, as Kerry said, you know, is that within a certain environment, just using some basic metrics, or is that some kind of algorithm that looks to match them based on previous activity, so on and so forth? So a bit more information about that would be really, really great.
Okay, our application is not collecting data from the users, at least for now. Therefore, we're not using any specific algorithms to match people depending on their previous activities. We're just matching people depending on their height, age, weight, and their fitness goals.
Okay, excellent. And the consideration, because I think you're early stage, obviously, and you haven't built anything yet. I think a bit like, I don't want to be the person that always talks about data in the same way that Emily doesn't want to be the person that talks about you know, market research. It's probably a bigger concern than you've maybe thought about. It's as simple as that. You know, this is biological data, essentially. You'll be looking at and tracking kind of lifestyle, which will include some incredibly personal data. And there have been some very high profile issues with badly made apps, and especially around things like female health being released into the public domain. So I think security, liability, governance of data, and specifically if you're going to learn to make this yourself, that you train to this a standard that is accepted in the industry. So it's more of a consideration. But otherwise, great. Yeah, as Emily said, loads of passion, which is good.
Thank you very much, Colin. Thanks a lot.
That's great advice. Thank you, Colin. Hash, over to you.
Again, great energy, and you know, I felt myself getting excited listening to you. So thanks for all that positive energy. Really good. My question is, look, you're attacking a really broad market. Where do you think, if someone asked you, you know, what would be the single point of differentiation, you know, and it might be relative to a competitor, or it might be just in your mind saying, you know, it could be a customer segment, you know, rather than trying to do everyone, it could be a particular need. What would you say if you had to just focus this down a little bit more rather than trying to do everything? What would be the one or two things you'd say this is going to be our focus area?
We really want to improve our clients and users' personal life by increasing their life quality. Basically, that is what we're generally focusing on. The revenue, generating revenue is just a section that we're going to benefit from, but we're here to help our clients by improving their general lifestyle by either losing weight, gaining weight, improve flexibility, and also strength, and even just maybe for socializing with people that they can relate to.
Okay. And again, sorry, just to build on that, again, that's quite a large group of people. So how, you know, is your idea to you know, to start with, you know, as a small early stage business, you're going to have to think about how you deploy your energy and resource. So where are you going to start? You know, is there a particular place or a particular segment that you think, actually, you know, I'm targeting young people or middle-aged people or women? I don't know. How do you think about that?
We're not focusing on only one gender, because we don't want to exclude any gender. Everybody is welcome to our application, just like we have mentioned in our core values. And where we are going to start from is, just like Emily has mentioned, before we are going to put too much effort on this, before getting the market validation, it's going to create like a disadvantage for us, and it's going to be a waste of time. Firstly, we're going to get the market validation and going to understand what the market demand is. Afterwards, we're going to continue creating and developing our application depending on what the customer wants, because just like we said, the customer satisfaction is our priority.
Lovely. Thank you for all those questions, and thank you both for your amazing pitch and your answers. I'm afraid, Kerry, I know you're waving. I'm afraid we're going to have to move on, so please do, write down your feedback. That'd be brilliant. We do need to move on to our third pitch of the day. That is Erin and her business GeoHound. Just while Erin cues her pitch, I just want to take the opportunity to give a quick plug to the Student Startup Programme. So anyone interested in finding out a bit more about what we do over at Student Startups, or you perhaps you're looking for support in creating your own venture, just have a little look over at our website, which is exeter.ac.uk/student startups. But otherwise, I will hand over to Erin. If we can give her a round of applause, please.
Hiya, so we are GeoHound, and enhanced geothermal is an upcoming renewable energy source that is being spearheaded by industrial leaders, educational institutions and local councils within the southwest region of England. I became interested in enhanced geothermal after talking to Dr. Adam Feldman, a lecturer on the Cornwall campus. He informed me of a previous project run by CSM and the problems they had encountered. Having researched the project, I discovered difficulties were encountered in pinpointing precise radioactive measurements within boreholes and accurately overlaying this with thermal and lithological data. It was also difficult for investors to understand the project's significance due to a lack in the ability to predict production value. So the design we have created solves the issue by combining LiDAR with thermal and radioactive sensors. This will produce a 3D cylindrical model of lithological radiation and thermal data. The timely automatic data acquisition combined with a precise overlay of data outcompetes the current surveying methods such as drawing out uranium water and then extracting to analyse quantities. So to summarise, our value proposition encompasses geo-reference data and an improvement in accuracy of data whilst benefiting geologists with a reduction of on-site time. To improve understanding and usability of our business model, we will provide a software and training package. So the casing of our product is designed to be modular to suit different brands of LiDAR scanners the company wishes to use. It was identified that lower frequency LiDAR is most suitable as it will produce less noise within the image, which beneficially happens to be the cheapest of LiDAR models. We identified heat and water resistance as important in providing longevity, and therefore we would want to investigate further the most cost-effective materials for this. We designed a spring stabilization system, however, we would also want to test the most effective stabilization system for the product. We've been in contact with Teradat, a surveillance company who have shown interest in the project's development and has advised on the different avenues a company can be taken. We plan to approach a number of companies stationed in Cornwall, including the Campbell School of Mines, who have just had £4 million invested into a research hub for improving ground data gatherance, with a particular interest in enhanced geothermal. The design dramatically decreases on-site time. I believe we estimated this to be at least by half. However, this would be estimated accurate if the model is produced and tested, and therefore reduces the overall cost. Our competitors include Mine LiDAR, who solely produce a 3D cylindrical model on lithological of a maximum depth of 2 meters. Comparatively, our design was aimed to withstand the harsh conditions deep within the ground, to analyse a much larger depth whilst providing a broader data acquisition, which is more useful for enhanced geothermal projects. European geophysical services provide acoustic imaging of bore core samples. However, acoustic imaging is limited to a smaller range of bore diameter, which therefore limits the extent of data acquisition. So Geomatrix, our ground-penetrating radar company, which also provides limited results as it observes topological layers of the ground, which results in a distortion of images, reducing accuracy of data overlay with the geo-reference point. This is particularly important when attempting to identify intrusion locations. So Cornwall and Devon are identified to have the most potential in the UK for this project due to their high levels of uranium, thorium and potassium. The CSM research programme I spoke about previously had £42 million invested into it. Since then, current projects are being hosted by United Downs Geothermal Power Project and Eden Geothermal Limited, both of which have had millions invested into it by multiple companies. The current organisers are proving to seek trust from investors since it has a new concept, and the EDGPP have just had their 1 to 3 megawatt pilot power plant commissioned. So Cornwall Council has also declared investment into enhanced geothermal projects as a priority, and there is a further interest within the UK and abroad. And just a few weeks ago, an additional £4 million was released for the Digital Cornwall project for a new physical 3D modelling and visualisation suite. So by 2026, it's been predicted that the market for enhanced geothermal energy will increase by 147%. So we're not a business that is currently trading, and we are still within the design stage. To say we have a final design would require prototyping and testing efforts. Therefore, we require investment into a manufacture space and materials to complete the stage. After this stage, we want to incorporate ongoing web development and begin a scientific peer review. After this, we wish to engage our target audience through directly approaching investors by attending industry events and attempting collaborations with other companies such as Cornish Lithium, who are currently leading artificial intelligence efforts for geological surveying. So the purchase of the project includes the installation package and a training package, including providers of site health and safety inspectors, experts in delivering training and training video packages. We also offer a company price reduction for multiple purchases. All purchases will be given an access reference code for a software download, and we can deliver training for the software at an extra cost. Therefore, we will also need to train staff to deliver health and safety assessments and software training. So the majority of our costs will be distributed amongst employment of manufacturing and software engineers. We identified ways in which we can reduce the cost, such as producing download reference keys for software instead of reduction of disks. This is a very unique opportunity for business, as it is working with a forecast of a predicted growth in industry. We'd want to give a focused estimate of profit once the design is finalised and tested. However, the data for suggested growth and interest is highly promising and presents a future demand in excellent data acquisition. So there are many areas worldwide that exhibit similar geology to Cornwall and Devon, and therefore provide further opportunity for growth within enhanced geothermal, and therefore also our design. If we had £3,000 invested into a company, the majority would be distributed to prototyping and development, with further expenditure in patenting and web development, since these are the next steps our company wishes to take. Thank you. If you have any questions, I'd like to answer.
Brilliant. Thank you, Erin. Round of applause. Wow, you managed to pack so much in there, Erin. That was quite incredible. I think the panel are going to be biting my hand off to get stuck in with questions. Kerry is waving, there's nodding happening. Kerry, we'll go to you first of all.
Hello, nice to see you, Erin. Nice to see the project still alive as well. Just a quick question. I'll just bat off a few at you. Is this a product or a service? So is it just the product you're supplying to companies who will then go on further to develop the data needed, or are you going to be doing all in one package?
So this is a product and a service, and we thought we'd like to expand the market and become versatile in what we offer, because the needs of each individual company is, wide and ranging from each, and because of the advancement of enhanced geothermal energy, and each different area of site of interest, they have different ground studies and different needs of time on site. So this is why we should also be versatile to meet the needs of the growing industry.
And the second question from me is, there's two different industries you can go into with the geothermal. You can either go heat and cooling, and you can also go down the heat and power route. So obviously one requires more depth than the other. LiDAR isn't exactly a cheap piece of kit to be shoving down, you know, tens of meters of boreholes. So how are you going to negate that potential loss by sticking this really expensive piece of kit down a massive hole, essentially?
So we plan to experiment around with our model once we go through the testing and prototyping stage, to ensure our customers and ensure, you know, the industry that they can trust our model in terms of its heat resistance. And one of the two of the materials that we are wanting to use so far, I think, are carbon steel and PET, because they have high heat resistance, and obviously, you know, we are aware that the technology we're sending down there does need to be fully protected. So, and also it needs to have water resistance as well to deal with the conditions it will be under.
I'll buy out. I don't want to be the technical guy asking all the technical questions either, so I'll allow other people to answer questions.
That's great. Thank you, Kerry. Thank you, Erin. Colin, over to you.
Incredibly impressive. Like, I think, as Jenny said, you've crammed a lot in there. It's actually a very exciting project. One consideration is, and it is again just a consideration, Deep Digital Cornwall is probably one of the only grant giving schemes around. So I would pursue that. They will actually give you money if there is prototyping involved. And they have some real distinct outputs to achieve from there. So that's definitely one to look at. I suppose my biggest question, rather than being enthused by the prospect of the business, which I think is massive, is the technology validation. So obviously you've got quite late in there, you added this kind of peer assessment. And actually there's a lot going on way before then. And I wondered how much of this has been tested and validated so far?
So from the market, we can gain some kind of validation because, you know, LiDAR has been sent down boreholes before, and they have been able to create 3D cylindrical models from this. But there's nothing out there that comprises the combination of radiation thermal and LiDAR. That's georeference, which is ideally suited for geologists and advancement, and something that you know, can actually reach further down than I think it was 2 miles or 2 meters down the borehole from one of our previous competitors. So we do get some validation from that. Obviously, we haven't created the product yet. We're still in the design stage, but I do think it is doable considering certain aspects of it have been done before, and we've improved on those aspects to make it more accurate and much more easily readable for our audience, which is geologists.
Excellent, thank you very much. I could ask a million questions, but I'm not going to. I'll leave it at that. Thank you. Thanks,
Colin. That was brilliant. Emily, was that a wave?
Sorry, I'm just trying to unmute. I couldn't find my arrow. Thank you for your presentation. I feel like I'm going to leave space for Hirsch to ask some questions because I'm probably the least technical here. But I guess it was more feedback that I think it's obviously like a huge idea, and there was so much information in it. And I think just perhaps in terms of like the content of the slides and the deck, of maybe just kind of reducing some of the information a bit, because I feel like there was so much to try and take on board, and certainly coming at it from, I guess, me like being a non-engineer, it was taking me a while to try and get my head around what was happening. And so it's, you know, I think it depends again on what audience you're presenting to, and I think, you know, there's clearly some amazing intelligent technical people here, but just thinking maybe about how you could also tell a story and sort of put it into a context in more sort of layman's terms, like for somebody who maybe is newer to this kind of tech. So it was just more feedback, but yeah, as I said, it sounds really exciting, and yeah, it was great to have my brain challenged and yeah, just exposed to some new stuff. So thank you.
Thanks, Emily. We've got kind of a minute and a half left of question time. Hirsch, can I hand that to you?
Right, thank you. Thank you, Erin. And look, you know, kind of super exciting, you know, what I call hard engineering problem you're solving. So really interesting. You know, my question is, and I totally agree with Emily's comments here. And, you know, again, very quickly, I think there's a whole piece around, alternative energy, the whole climate change problem. I think you can also think about how you're contributing to that. More generally, I guess the question I had for you is, can you explain to us, geothermal energy in the UK, but also globally, what's the potential and what's driving that change, right? Why geothermal as opposed to all the other alternative energies, right? What's going to kickstart investment in geothermal? Can you give everyone a bit of context on that?
Sure. So geothermal has the potential to actually produce, a large amount of energy, but also produce that heated water to heat for local homes as well. So because we've suddenly thought about how actually the gradient within the ground, especially with areas that are granite rich, are much higher. So such as in Colin, which has granitic rock. I think it's about 25 to 30 degrees Celsius per kilometre, which is much more higher than the rest of the UK. So this has a lot more potential in producing energy from those two ways that I just explained. And there's lots of places and areas around the world which have different characteristics, geological characteristics that can produce very similar results. And obviously the amount of energy production is varied across the globe, considering that obviously the variance of the geology. But this is why technology like this is so important, to actually understand how much could be produced. To engage with investors, as Emily said, it's very difficult to, for me to explain how, without going into depth, and engaging with the public because it's such a new idea. So this is why it has a worldwide premise to it that, this could reach many countries if it's proven to be good.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Erin, for your pitch. That was fantastic. And thank you, panel, for your questions. We will move on. There we go, another round of applause. We're getting them all in. We will move on to our fourth pitch of the day. We have a duo of brothers. We've got Matt and George Seymour. And
hi, everyone. Hey, guys. Can you hear us?
Over to you guys.
So, can you guys hear us okay?
You're all good.
Awesome. Yeah. Can we see that? Yeah. Can you guys see it?
Yep, you're fine. Good to go.
Okay, cool. Okay. I'm Matt, this is George, and we are Kithara, which is a guitar pedal business. Oh, if that's going to move. Okay, so who are we? Okay, we're beginner guitar enthusiasts. So like a lot of beginner guitarists, we spend a lot of time like watching YouTube videos on guitars rather than actually practicing. I feel like that's a flaw a lot of people have. But we were watching this interview with one of our favorite bands called Last Dinosaurs, and they were talking about how they make their own guitar pedals, which are like things that change the noise of a guitar to make it more unique, like a distortion or a reverb. And the guy was saying that he had to learn how to do electronic engineering in order to make them himself. And I was like, oh, my brother does electronic engineering. So like, can we do this ourselves? And he was like, yeah, I think we can. So we looked at a few guitar pedals, and we realized that a lot of them are very specific in what they do. So you can only do one effect, and the pricing is like rather high for like these one effects, and that was a bit off-putting for us. So we had the idea of having a programmable effects pedal. So you could upload your own code to change the noise that you get, make a unique sound for your own. And there would be like a library of effects provided by us beforehand as well.
So the way it worked would be you play your guitar, it'd go to a preamp stage, which would boost the signal. That then go to an analog digital converter, which would read it, turn that to digital signal. That goes to microcontroller, which applies an effect like distortion or a wah. That outputs as another digital to a digital analog converter, turns to analog, and then we boost that again, and it goes to the amp and makes that cool sound that guitarists are after.
That's the basics of how a guitar pedal works. And so beyond that, we'd also like to create a website for users to upload their own code and then hopefully share this and like create a community that can create their own unique sounds. So our target market for this is guitar enthusiasts, bands, and experimental musicians. We did some research into the market value for effect processors and pedals, and it's rallied at about £12 billion in 2021, and this is expected to rise to 17.7 billion in 2025. And then the number of guitar pedals sold in the US in 2019 was 1.9 million. We couldn't find any data for the UK, but if you scale it down for like the UK population, it should be like 400,000. And over lockdown in 2020, there was a rise in people purchasing musical equipment because people have more time for hobbies and stuff. And this was seen in Gear for Music, who made 80% more money in 2020 than they did in the previous year.
And that was mainly on guitar sales, which is very useful for us.
Yeah. So our competition, we have 3 main like competition things. So we got normal guitar pedals, which are 1 effect or 2 effects. They're very basic to use. You just plug in, you twist a knob, and it changes the noise slightly. So like they're kind of like not very versatile. They're very specific to one thing, but the cost is low. Then you have multi-effect pedals, which have a number of different effects pre-built in, but they're hardwired, so you can only use those effects. So this makes them a bit more versatile, but also there's like a limit to what you can do with them, and they're a bit more expensive.
And then we have the Pedal Pi, which is an open source project, which is similar to ours, but it runs on a Raspberry Pi computer, and you have to buy each component yourself, construct it yourself. And difficulty with this is for a guitarist, you would then need to become familiar with the Linux operating system and how to code in Python, which are 2 huge steps for someone who wants to be a guitar pedal, but it can do any effect. But that's where we come in, as we were going to be selling our product between 50 and 100 pounds. And it is designed that you can upload your own code to it, but also have a huge library of R code. And it's going to use the Arduino IDE for coding, which is an incredibly user-friendly interface that any beginner can pick up. This gives us quite a high versatility and allows for anyone to use our guitar depending on their level.
Yeah, and with it being pre-built, it kind of like gets rid of that experience that people need if they had to like solder their own version together.
So for revenue, first of all, we're going to focus on just developing a single model, so just 1 guitar pedal. And in future, we're looking at having 2 models. So our initial model, and then one with a higher sampling rate and processing speed. So the first one we make would be for people like me and Matt, who are just getting into guitars, and we want to get a pedal that can do everything rather than spending like 200 quid on a bunch of random pedals. And the higher end one would be for performers on stage who need just a little bit more audio quality, so that way it sounds good. And we're aiming to market between 50 and 100 pounds, but this value may change. But we're aiming to be less than 3 times the price of a normal guitar pedal.
Yeah, as the development continues, it may cost a bit more, or like the time spent on it may require us to charge a higher price. So at the moment, we're in a very low stage. We're in the development stage where we're like moving into further market research and prototype development. We know a couple guitarists, musicians, and like Spotify artists, and we've spoken to them about it. And there seems to be a general interest in a general purpose and adaptable effects pedal, like a customizable effects specifically. And so we want to develop a prototype and then test it ourselves and then send it off for user testing and feedback to see what extra features people might want or other things that they don't want.
So if we won the prize, we would use this to build a prototype, like controllers, then we test it ourselves, and then use an oscilloscope and that, and we test it with the people we know, Spotify artists and our friends. And then once that happens, we get the feedback and we develop it further to try and make a pedal that everyone can use.
And then overall, for our big picture, we just want to create a programmable effects pedal for mass market use and experimental use for artists who really want to push the limit of what an effects pedal can do for their instrument on stage, and to grow in the domestic market and later into the international market, and to produce a platform for artists to create their own open source code and effects. Like this is like the main selling point, I think, for us, is that later on we'll have a community behind pushing and like adding our longevity to our product.
Any questions?
Any questions? Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you guys. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, George. I think I'm probably not alone in wondering what on earth I was doing with 3 lockdowns, because I definitely didn't learn to play an instrument, get a new language. But anyway, you sound like you've been productive, so well done. Let's get stuck into questions from the panel. Emily, should we come to you first?
Yeah, thank you for your presentation. It was good. And I know that yeah, anyway, I have a couple of questions.
Yeah.
So the first is just from a practical point of view. So I'm a guitarist, but I haven't used that many pedals, and I haven't I'm not as experimental perhaps with my guitar playing. But I'm interested in the practicalities of the pedals. So once you've created your own codes and different effects, like how will you be able to just kind of switch between those in a live performance situation?
Yeah, so yeah, you can like upload it to like a flash drive, like an SD card, and you can plug it into the guitar pedal itself, and then we'll have like a switch where you can switch between a number of functions that you want to use.
Okay. And the second question was just from a practical point of view. So I guess if your next stage is developing a prototype, do you have a sense of how much it's going to cost you to build the prototype?
Yeah, I have.
To get people to test.
Yeah, I have a sense. So obviously, recently Raspberry Pi have released an actual microcontroller, which will cost about £4 and is one of the best ones on the market. But obviously, we need to test with different analog to digital converters, and they range between a price of £4 to £10. The same with digital analog. The preamp and post amp is going to require by like resistors, capacitors, just and transistors, which is quite simple, but it's going to require like some time to do it. So probably to build like one solid prototype would probably cost us like around 100, but we need to experiment and change everything up because there are loads of different ways we can do it, and we're probably going to break stuff.
Yeah, we need to know the limits of how much of a signal you can put through, like how much amperage you can put through without breaking it as well. So
and that does include obviously you need access to like a oscilloscope and signal generator, because we could just test it with guitar, but that won't give us a lot of accuracy in producing things.
yeah, let's say you play like an A chord and you're, well, not an A chord, an A note, and you're like, oh, it should be about 324 hertz or something, and you don't get that through on the other side. You're like, oh, is my guitar not tuned properly, or is that because something's going on in the middle?
Yeah, no, I think that would, it might be something, I don't know if you could maybe have a think about that and send that through, because I think just in terms of, you know, like pitching for funding here, or like if you get involved with the Student Startups program and sort of pitching for market validation funding, it would just be great to have a sense of the breakdown of that cost to sort of take that first step. So yeah, anyway, let someone else speak.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Emily. Kerry's waving.
Yep. So just on, Emily used my first question there, which was, what is that one pedal going to be a multi-pedal so you can flick between the different sounds during a song? So when it is now, it's going to be flicking between the different sounds. At the price point that you've quoted, is just one microcontroller going to have the computational power to produce the effect that you want and still give it back to the user at real-time interface? So are you actually going to be able to use the different sounds while still having it real-time, or is it going to be a lag between your play with all the different code that you're going to have to run? Secondly, why Python, not C# or C++? What's the deal with that one?
Okay, yeah. So the Raspberry Pi Pico coming out. So the open source one uses a Raspberry Pi computer, and that has significantly like more processing on it because it has to run an operating system. Whereas our microprocessor will not have to run an operating system, meaning it should be able to process everything faster. And the coding can be done either on C, which I'm familiar with because I've done a lot of microcontroller projects, or Python, which I'm very familiar with. And there should be little to no lag because the clock speed is like 3.4 megahertz, and a guitar's like frequency is usually up to 1,000 kilohertz, to 1,000 hertz.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculously like lower.
Yeah, so like your basic sampling rate should be at least 2 times the frequency that's coming in. And so if the frequency is 1,000 hertz, and then the clock speed that we have on the Arduino is, I think, 3 megahertz. So that's like 3 million.
Yeah. So that's like 10.
So we've got 1,000 times the latency, or 1,000 times the space that we need.
Thanks, guys. Hash, we'll come to you next. That's all right.
Brilliant. Well, again, thanks for the pitch. Very exciting. I'm a part-time kind of digital composer myself, so I kind of found it really interesting.
Yeah.
See around with a MIDI keyboard and things. But yeah, if people want to, adapt, sounds, isn't it going to be easy enough to do it? Attach a normal sound to a computer, adapt it, and get the effects you want, or just help me understand that, or why does it need to come through your particular platform? And are there no other ways to do it for people who want to go this far and create different sounds?
So so there already exists like an open source version of this, which is difficult to create. But I guess like if you wanted to make a sound go for a computer, there's a lot of processing that has to happen if it goes into a computer first and then into an amp, because like there's so much circuitry in a computer. So that would add to like actual latency. Whereas with a microcontroller, it only does the processing it needs for the effect, and that's it. So that reduces the latency.
And for our user base, one of the key points we're talking about is obviously we want to buy guitar pedals, but we don't want to spend £35 on one guitar pedal and be stuck with one. So the point is that a user can buy it and they could keep changing the effect they have on it, so they can try out new things for a beginner.
Okay. And then I think the other question I had, you know, you've priced yourself, I think, kind of at the upper end here. So have you seen any signal that, you know, guitar enthusiasts, I think which is we are targeting, they would be willing to pay the amount of money that you're suggesting?
Yeah, so we had like a fun fact that we forgot to put in, but we found out like the average amount of money that a guitarist spends across their lifetime on their equipment is $10,000. Like that's like overall. Some people spend a lot less, some people spend more. But if you're an enthusiast, like, and you're buying pedals, you're not just gonna buy one, you're gonna buy like 10 or something like that, and you're gonna use different ones for different events. And so if you could just have one where you can adapt it to whatever you need on the day, then that would reduce the amount of money you'd have to spend overall.
Yeah, and like pedals usually do, like, although we said they cost £35, usually the average cost is like £50 or £70, which is quite a lot just for a singular effect. And for someone weighing up what to get, having a pedal that does it all for a slightly higher price is a much better deal.
Yeah, if you want to buy 7 and it's £700, or one that can do it for £100.
Okay, right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Amazing, thank you. Colin, we have about 60 seconds. If you,
I'm jumping in. I think it's massively exciting. I think it needs a lot of focus. I'm just going to chuck something up there in the chat. I know you're pre-market research, and I think it would be really good. So this is a consideration, so apologies. I am also a guitarist. I do and have played with many pedals, and I have easily spent more than $10,000. Despite not having stepped on a proper stage for around about 15 years. I would say that even in my home, rigs using things like Tonebridge and iRig at the lower end of playing around are, you know, quite accessible. And I actually see that what you're probably looking at here is something more aimed at someone like Emily, who is actually performing, wants a setup that's easy to use on a stage, is reliable. They can switch between it without having to open an app, go onto a computer. So I think maybe shifting your focus as to what your USP is, I suspect is actually having everything preset and ready and confident. I think beyond that, I would be really interested, and I know I haven't got time, just to follow up with some chat about the community aspect.
Yeah, we'd be more than happy to talk about that if you wanted some time.
Yeah, it's a really key part we want to push is trying to get a bunch of people creating new sounds that aren't on current effect boards.
Exactly.
New stuff.
Yeah.
Excellent stuff.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. We will call time on questions.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
That was a great pitch, and yeah, I think you've probably sold a few pedals by the sound of it, so that sounds great.
Awesome.
Fantastic. Right, we will move on to our fifth presenter of the day and our last pitch of part one. We have Harvey Mitchell and his business BioHydrogen. Harvey, are you there? Are you ready to share your pitch with us?
Yes, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, I will start sharing my screen. Let me know if there are any problems. Right, I'm in PowerPoint mode. Can you see that clearly?
We can indeed, whenever you're ready.
Okay, if you give me a countdown, I will start my timer and I will go.
3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so hello and welcome to my Elevate 21 pitch. So in this presentation, I want to talk about a project I've been working on for a few months now called BioHydrogen. I'm going to talk about what that actually is, what it's trying to achieve, and where there's a commercial viability for it. But before I start my pitch, I need to get my narcissism out of the way and tell you all about me. So I'm currently studying at the University of Exeter, and I'm doing the medical sciences course. And what I am aiming to achieve is use biology to tackle big issues. And I'm currently enrolled on the Student Startups Incubator program in order to achieve this kind of mad science. So what is BioHydrogen? BioHydrogen is an alternative production method for hydrogen, which is emissions-free. The idea is to use a bacteria, photosynthesis, and carbon dioxide to produce hydrogen. So not only are you environmentally friendly, you are a carbon negative production method. And the idea is to use scalable production so that you can quickly match the demand of what is becoming a very quickly booming hydrogen boom. Why is biohydrogen so intriguing? The current economic plans for green hydrogen, so that's renewable made hydrogen, isn't enough to reach the demands of the sectors. It will not reach it by 2030 and the targets that they have set. So by using, this is an excellent opportunity as well to bring biological approaches into the mainstream, as hydrogen is currently getting a lot of attention. As I've just mentioned, there is a hydrogen boom. So a lot of governments and organizations are looking at hydrogen as a sector to improve our fuel usage, and as a result, that's getting a lot of money put into it. Not only that, but this is very down to earth. So this can help the Southwest with its economic issues, and it would help the university itself achieve its climate emergency targets. And I want to put it I want to bring this down to earth as well. What hydrogen is and how you can, what that means in your daily life. So a single kilogram of hydrogen has 33.6 kilowatt hours. What does that actually mean? In a hydrogen car, that would take a single kilogram of hydrogen would take you 100 kilometers or 62 miles. It could power 3 UK households for their electricity demands in a single day, or it can fund the entire a single UK household's entire heating bill for a single day. And the idea is that a single bioreactor, the minimum viable product, will produce 1 kilogram of hydrogen per day. What is the advantage of biohydrogen over the current green hydrogen production? So green hydrogen typically uses renewables and electrolysis. That's where you take water and you split it. Basically, you use water, you get hydrogen. It's a very energy intensive process, which means you need a ton of renewables. Electrolyzers themselves are very expensive and they need to be set up manually, which improves, as you're trying to scale it up, that increases costs astronomically. And there's also the issue of, because of the nature of electrolyzers, you need to wait on national infrastructure to be made. The advantages of biohydrogen are you can tackle these issues directly. So by using biochemistry and photosynthesis, you reduce those electrical demands and therefore the costs astronomically. The bioreactor that I'm trying to look at designing is able to address the issues of electrolyzers and be more scalable in general. And because you're able to make a smaller reactor overall, you can then use it in a decentralized manner where you go straight to the source of where it's needed, bypassing these infrastructure issues. Where is the potential for hydrogen? So at the moment, there are major partners. As you can see on the right on the PowerPoint, there are major partners who are currently looking at hydrogen. I'm happy to go into those in the Q&A if people are interested. In the bottom, you can see the sectors which are likely to be impacted by hydrogen. Left is the most impacted, to the right, which is the least impacted. These are the areas that would have the most, not only emission reductions, but the most demand for hydrogen. And it has the ability, hydrogen is quite unique because it could decarbonize major areas which are heavily pollutant. And it also means that we could be able to have a modern economy without the offsets of having a modern economy. The main value propositions of biohydrogen are it's a better alternative to green hydrogen for the reasons I set out earlier. It's a climate-friendly fuel source because you're producing hydrogen without the emissions. And when you use hydrogen, it doesn't produce emissions in the process. Biohydrogen has the potential to make hydrogen more accessible, which means more people would want to use it and it would help match the demand. And you're able to bypass those infrastructure issues, which I stated before, by using that decentralized approach. The customer market would look somewhat like this. I've grouped them into 2 customer groups. There would be buyers who they would want bioreactors or one-time big payments, and renters, which would be on demand as day-by-day basis. So buyers are people who would maybe want bioreactors in by certain quotas, like energy companies, or households who are interested in buying something to make their heating cheaper, like we have in the UK with solar panels. Passive income would be drivers just going to a fuel stations who want biohydrogen. Maybe there's one 20 miles from where hydrogen is being made and they want it, or district heating. So maybe there's a certain network which has had it. So yes, at the moment, the stage is that I need to get the access to the bacteria. So I'm asking for £390 as a gateway cost. This would allow me to access the bacteria, investigate it, and independently verify the data. And then I'm being cheeky and asking for additional funding of £610, where it would contribute towards the costs of designing a proof of concept reactor. The initial prototype is just going to be an Arduino board, circuits, some valves, and a giant pump, essentially. But it will be the basis for building a better prototype and then improving that over time and then using it as an MVP within Devon. So that is my pitch. This is the amount I'm asking for. If you want, give me more. And this would help fund my mad science. Thank you for my time, and thank you for your time, rather, and I look forward to answering your questions. Woo.
I think we're all going to be applauding your mad science there, Harvey.
Thank you very much.
Fantastic, and right within time. Well done. Such an ambitious proposal, and it really feels like it's a project that has, really substantial impact on the way we live our lives. So, you know that I always have tons of questions for you, but I'm sure the panel really will. If you're okay to unshare your screen, perfect. Then we will jump right to. Hesh, do you want to kick things off this time around?
Yeah, sure. Again, hi, again, great energy, and yeah, absolutely kind of potentially transformational to the world. So my question is, you know, how did you get into this, and B, what makes you think it's going to work? You know, what's there's always risk around these mad projects, and that's absolutely fine, but why do you believe it's going to work? And are there other things that you've seen in the market, in industry, which says actually people are trying this, you know, there are things that are happening, it's going to work, there are some challenges. And I've asked you a few questions there, but the last one, I was going to go, even if you get to a point where you will see some success, what do you think are going to be the biggest hurdles for you? You know, and again, are you seeing anything, you know, whether it's, you know, competitive technology who are struggling with this? But I'll kind of just leave that open. Maybe you can answer some of these points.
So I'll start with how I got into this. I literally was just on a Google binge. I was out of education in secondary school for a couple of years. So that meant I just spent a lot of time just looking up things when I got curious, just on the internet. I found out about fuel cells about 13 or 14, and hydrogen was one of the advocates, because I was curious about how do you power exoskeletons, which was something I was quite into just through sci-fi and books through that. And hydrogen was quite a fuel source with high potential, but there was a lot of hurdles at the time. And as I've been looking into this recently, the hurdles have become more evident of why it didn't explode before. So I just found out about hydrogen about 14, and then I've just known about it. And then I was curious recently during lockdown, is there a bacteria or just a microbe that produces hydrogen? Because then that's biological solar, basically. And so I found out about this bacteria that has a high yield potential. What was the second question again? Sorry, just so I want to make sure I get straight to the right what you're asking.
I think my second one, why do you think it's going to work?
So why do I think biohydrogen is viable is why I think biohydrogen is viable is because it provides an emission-free source of hydrogen while also addressing the issues that current green hydrogen has. So at the moment, the bacteria I'm looking at is one of the more high-yield hydrogen producers. I'm happy to go into that. I'm not trying to be like ambiguous for the sake of mystery. So it's a type of bacteria which produces hydrogen, and normally when you have a chemical reaction in biology, there's some sort of limiter. So once there's X amount of something, stop producing it. This bacteria doesn't have any kind of inhibitor, so it will continuously produce if the conditions are set, and the bioreactor will continue to produce that. So I think it's viable because you can produce about 1 kilogram of hydrogen in a day. That's very feasible for matching demands. So as long as the bioreactors are cost effective, then you're able to match these demands as they come. And then the final question, I believe, was where do I see the hurdles being if this is successful? The major issue is with supply chain and matching production to scalability. So there'll be X amount of demand. Let's just say you want to produce 100 kg of hydrogen every day. I need 100 reactors. Okay, do I have the money to ensure that I can get the reactors? Am I producing them at the most cost-effective rate? That it means, is it 3D printing? Is it injection molding? Is it better to just assemble these things? I have to figure out how to translate the science equipment into 3D parts with 3D modeling and programming, and then convert that into non-licensed or affordable licensed products that can then be used in scalable production. And then I need to make sure that that's all being assembled as quickly and cost effectively as possible. So that the biggest issue would be supply chain and scaling it.
Yeah, very good, very good. No, thank you for that. And I'll let others go now, but I think there are lots of parallels to a lot of developments I'm seeing in the UK landscape to fusion energy and bioreactors around fusion energy. So it might be something you want to look at.
You've already got my interest with that. I'd love to learn more.
There we go. Curiosity hooked right there. Thanks, Jar, and thanks, Holly, for your answer there. Who's anyone waving next? Emily, quick wave, go for it.
Unmute. Yeah, so mine is more just feedback rather than a question. I just wanted to say how impressed I was with your pitch. I remember seeing a pitch about this idea about 6 months ago, and just I think there was like your curiosity in it and your excitement about the potential of it was really apparent. But I loved the way that you told the story, and you gave us examples, you know, when you were talking about you know, what does 1 kilogram actually mean and what could that power? And I think that you just did a really fantastic job with that. So I just wanted to say well done.
Thank you very much. And both for facilitating this today and back then, and for letting me continue with it. It's been great.
been great to have you on board, Harvey. Kerry.
I'm not a biochemical engineer by any way, shape or form, but just wanted to ask, photosynthesis to get hydrogen, does that require sunlight? And if so, how much hydrogen would you be able to generate if it was at night, a dark day, for example? And then obviously there is a solution to bypass that, which would be the artificial light. So is that what you're using?
I'm actually really glad that you brought this up, because this was actually my original pitch on how would you get a country, say like Iceland or Norway, to be able to take advantage of their renewables. So hydropower and geothermal are the two big ones. You would use, ideally, you would use normal sunlight where it's necessary. So Saudi Arabia or the UK. In fact, the UK is a great candidate because certain areas are darker because where we're positioned. So in, say, the south, sunlight would be more applicable. And then you would use natural photosynthesis. In areas where renewables are plenty, but you don't have as much light, you would use LEDs. You would just use purple LEDs, and then that's it. You can use that at certain wattages, basically. I can't remember the measurement, but they literally mention like the wattage that they use photosynthesis at. So you can make the photosynthesis cycles. There are different cycles. I won't technical stuff. Basically, you can make it as long or as short as you want with artificialness. So if it's cheaper to even use artificial over natural, then that's the way to go.
Yeah, just asking for scalability of the business, as in you can ramp up production to meet demand with supply, or supply with demand, the other way around.
Geography is not a limit, basically. Weather is not a limit.
Yeah, and then just one last thing where I'm feeding off Hirsch's last question, which was what are the hurdles? Probably one of the biggest hurdles, would you think, is if the electric car industry really takes off and the electrification of vehicles take off, then hydrogen will almost take a back burner. We'll see all of this funding that's going into the research of how to obtain hydrogen at an affordable rate will almost be stripped back from universities and scaled down massively. So do you think that that's probably one of your biggest hurdles because of how volatile hydrogen is from transport supply as well as storage? Do you think that the electrification of cars may just pip another hurdle, the biggest hurdle maybe in your way?
So on my slides, the reason why I put cars as the least affected industry was for that exact fact that electric cars are the big primary aspect. As it goes right now, with the way that the battery technology is going and being improved on, is that there is still batteries still have a lot of technical hurdles, which is why hydrogen is being looked at as like an energy medium. So you're using it as like in between. So solar is only good for certain hours of the day, and you need coal plants during other parts of the day. So the solar, but at the moment, all that energy is wasted, or it's used in inefficient batteries. So unless the battery technology really improves, which it probably is going to, the investments being put into the transportation and the storage capacity. The storage one is always going to be an issue, but there's a lot of money being put into it. I always see a couple of headlines where there's like different things they're exploring. And then the other question about transportation, this is where BioHydrogen is somewhat unique. This is like one of our USPs essentially, is that we are hitting a decentralized area. So you don't need to worry about the entire network being distributed. If say York has more polyethylene pipelines than metal pipelines, then you can use hydrogen there more often. Whereas if say the University of Exeter specifically improves its pipeline for its network, you can immediately use biohydrogen there, and as the rest of Exeter builds it up, you can get more bioreactors as and when needed. So basically, if let's say the worst case scenario happens and electric cars completely take over, great, because that's more of the climate issues being dealt with. But there's still the aviation sector. Electricity is not going to be viable there. Hydrogen will still be better. You combine that with natural gas, and you get an emission-free fuel source. Airbus is big on investing into that right now. Heating is going to be a major issue. Why use renewables inefficiently to make hydrogen when you can use it in combination with biohydrogen to make the heating? So there are plenty. There's too many sectors that hydrogen can be used in for it to not have some kind of investment. So.
Brilliant. I'm going to have to stop there on the questions, I'm afraid. Harvey, that was brilliant.
Sorry,
thank you so much. I'm sorry, Colin, as well. I am cutting you from this question round. We need to take a short break. I think we are going to have a slightly shorter break than anticipated, but we will kick off again at 3:30. So everyone go off, stretch your legs, fill up your mugs, and we will see you back here at 3:30 for our last 4 pitches.
See you soon.
See you soon.
Thank you.
Right, hello. Hopefully everyone's had a chance to top up their mugs and stretch their legs. Julia, if you're okay to unshare our take a break slide, we will get started with part 2. If Julia's there. Hopefully she's not still making the tea.
She's still making the tea.
She might be. It's going to be a really great cuppa though, so there we go. Just a reminder to everyone that we would really like you to keep your videos on for the second part of Elevate, just to show our presenters your support while they pitch. It's much nicer to be presenting to your lovely faces than to a blank screen, but if you can keep your mics muted, then that would be great. As we said before, if you've got any questions or feedback for any of our presenters, over and above what our lovely panel have shared, then feel free to post them in the chat, and we will collate at the end and send along with the rest of the feedback. You can also email any feedback to studentstartups@exeter.ac.uk, and yeah, we will pass it right on to our pitchers. Have we got Julia back yet? Emily, I feel like you're talking, but you're on mute.
Yeah, I didn't want to. I was just going like hello, but I didn't want to interrupt. I was going to say, if people do want to leave comments and feedback, or if you've got connections, or you want to like connect with one another afterwards, if you just like write the name of either the person or the business before you write your comment, just so that it's then easier to kind of put you in touch with one another or collate the feedback.
That is a great shout. Thank you very much. That's awesome. Lovely. Right, okay, well, let's get things kicked off with our first pitch of part 2. Hopefully we've got Nihat and Feridun and their business Infosort.
Yeah, should I share my screen now?
Yeah, that's perfect. We'll hand over to you, and whenever you're ready. We'll give you an applause. Sorry. Come on, everyone. There we go.
Let me set my timer. All right, I'm ready.
Start whenever you're ready to go.
Okay. My name is Nihat. I'm the co-founder of Infosort, and my friend Feridun is an engineer and one of the members of the Infosort team. Information is the oil of the 21st century, and analytics is the combustion engine. Data is the new oil. All these fancy quotes you hear, I mean, what do they mean? If data analytics is this revolutionary to call it the oil of 21st century, it must be for all industries, say like computers. And you can well imagine big tech, finance industry, and so on using it. How about small businesses? Do you really expect cafes, restaurants, retailers to hire statisticians and econometricians so that they can utilize their data? This will not be the case. This is where our startup Infosort comes in. We provide a point of sale system for restaurants and offer business intelligence consulting through algorithms. We have 2 subscription plans. First one is the basic plan. It includes revenue time series graph, sales proportion and pie charts, Boston matrix, stock analysis, stock status, and the regular plan includes everything in the basic plan, plus cost analysis, cost of production for each product, and producer price index. We will be providing an app via Android and iOS, and this app is integrated to our point of sale system, and we provide different login options for workers in different positions so that they can access different types of information through the same portal. So the application notifies when products are stocked, workers check in through this application, and proportion of sales and daily and weekly revenues can be accessed through this app for managers and owners and for the operation department. We heavily utilize near-field communication tags. We provide these tags to businesses for each table they have. This is basically a tag that interacts with your phone, like the contactless payment, the same technology. So the NFC menu tag, what it does is the customer interacts with the menu tag using their phone, and then they decide what to order, and they interact with the NFC order tag. The customer either makes an order or call for the waiter and waitress. So each table has its own NFC tags and ID number. When there's an interaction between the tag associated with a specific table and the customer's phone, our algorithms capture this, and the algorithms notify workers through the app so that they can go and serve the customer. So this is our business model, and I'll refer to some of them because I'll cover the others. So in terms of key activities, we gather data from our point of sale system. We have an SQL database. It's an online database. We have our own network attached storage system, and we do analysis through algorithms, and from the output of the algorithms, we provide business intelligence consulting for firms. And our key resources are computer algorithms, computers, and people. In terms of customer relationships, we will have it through application that we have, a monthly detailed report, and queries through the app portal. And in the case of customer segments, we target mid-high level restaurants that are operating in Turkey, low mid-level restaurants that are operating in the UK, and people either from the UK or Turkey that are looking forward to open their own restaurants. And for the channels, we're going to run ads and join business and food exhibitions. So key partners are Amazon Web Services for our internet servers and for data storage. And we also use Synology storage so that our system is secure. So we have 2 backups for data. And in terms of value propositions, we approach it from 2 perspectives. So we focus on cost substitution. Say, instead of hiring someone for Excel reports, we provide the same report, if not more, with no time lag, no human error, and much less of a cost. And we provide data-driven recommendations and organizational improvements, which don't cut costs, but provide further benefits. So in terms of market validation, in Turkey, POS systems are provided through a lump sum payment methods, which is, not understandable. There's only one competitor that provides a point of sale system and uses that as a mean to provide something else in the world, and it's Square, which is the biggest one also. And we don't face direct competitor, as in there's no company that provides the same product. So in terms of revenue sources, we have basic subscription plan and regular subscription plan, and those are the 2. And long-term revenue is a function of investment in our business plan, and we have 3 investment plans in 3 stages. In the first stage, we're going to satisfy this first part of point of sale investment and the first part of consulting. In the second stage, we're going to satisfy this part so that our revenue would increase. And in the third stage, we will satisfy the second part of point of sale system and the third part of consulting. And our cost structures will be covered through savings for the pre-operation, and for the post-operation, we expect to cover it from our sales. And future scope, this is easily, in retail industry, hotel industry, their operation systems are very similar to restaurants' point of sale system. So basically by just changing the interface, we can apply it to these industries too. And thanks for listening.
Thank you, guys. Round of applause. That was a really interesting pitch. I believe that this is kind of born out of some of your personal experience with the problem. So it's really interesting that you're using technology and data to solve something that you've experienced. Let's hand over to the panel. Emily straight away has her hand up, so let's go there first of all.
Hello, thank you for your pitch. Can I just ask, what is the tangible benefit to these small businesses of what you're offering them? Because I was trying the whole way through to try and understand that, and I'm not quite clear.
All right, so in the case of tangible benefits, for restaurants, say, my parents own a cafe chain, and we have menus, and we have to get new menus because of inflation, and like prices change, and menus get damaged. So we pay £12,000 a year so that we can just change the menu. And by using NFC tags for menus, you can change your menu whenever you want. So that by just working with us, you don't need to pay £12,000 yearly in the case of us for your menus. And so I talked about cost substitution, and so if you also work with us, we do all of your Excel work that you can potentially demand. And in the case of restaurant industry, it's like the things that restaurants demand are more or less the same in terms of what you want to see in Excel. So they all want the same thing, but they hire people. Algorithms can do that, and in much, much less cost. So say in the UK, you need to pay £3,000 a month to hire someone so that your Excel work can be done. And I mean, by just using our system, there's no time lag. The person doesn't need to work, and you can just access it, anytime. And there is no human error. And our system costs $150, the regular system. So it's way cheaper. And so I can go on, but if you want.
Yeah, no, I think it just in terms of some feedback on the pitch itself, because I think, again, there was a lot that you were trying to get through in the pitch. And I think if at the beginning you can, if you're saying that your parents own a restaurant and they had this problem and this is how you want to try and solve it, you immediately give me like a way into like understand like a story that I can picture, and I can go, oh yeah, I could see how that would be a problem for that business, and now I'm interested in what you're going to do about it and how you're going to solve it. So I think it's maybe thinking about how could you bring some of those more like, whether it's personal stories, but that kind of narrative, like to help give people a way in, because otherwise it becomes like a bit of a cloud, like you're talking about data and being able to improve efficiencies, but I can't pin it on like what is it specifically, like how is this helping, that's the thing I struggled with a bit. But yeah, but it sounds like there's a lot of like interesting ideas and potential and things in there. So.
Right, I'll consider that. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Emily. Let's hand over to Colin.
Hi, I think it's two wonderful pitches. So what I can see there is solving two issues. One is the lack of well-costed business intelligence software, because it's remarkably expensive because it's still in the enterprise arena, and something that I think is an incredibly valuable path to go down. And the other one is a point of sales logistics. So that's the NFC and so on and so forth. And I think a bit like Emily, one of those is incredibly customer driven, one of those is very business driven. I'd like to see a little bit more clarity around the value proposition separating those two out. Because one of them requires a personal story, because as Emily has rightfully pointed out, it solves a problem that people have. The other one is something that actually a lot of people ignore. But I'm really interested actually in the market research. I've had some experience of Square, and really it's how you think, because obviously they don't do the business intelligence side as much, but how you think you can, well, essentially muscle in on quite a big player. What's the angle for people when you're giving them a choice?
So you're comparing Square and us essentially.
Yeah.
Right. So the way Square does is that there's no subscription plan at all. You don't pay anything. But say you make $100,000 in revenue for a month, they take 2% of it, and so you need to pay $2,000, say, and which is first of all a lot. But what I said is that there's one company that provides a point of sale system as a medium to provide something else. Square does it. They provide financial services like easier way of paying, paying methods. But they also provide point of sale system so that they can use it as a medium. We provide a point of sale system as a medium so that we can gather data and give them business intelligence consulting. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Harsh, should we hand to you?
Thank you, Nihat, and yeah, it's a really interesting pitch. How do you see some of the big, I don't know, enterprise software businesses? I'm thinking of people like Oracle or SAP. I think some of them do POS type solutions for restaurants more generally. I think with cloud they can perhaps even sell at lower price points. So I don't know, are you seeing any of that? And so again, I think a little bit to build on Colin's last question, what's the differentiation if some of these bigger players are able to offer cloud solutions? What's going to be the ultimate pitch that kind of differentiates your proposition here?
Okay, so as you can see, I'm always, in the case of customer segments, I say customers in the UK and in Turkey. And, a software company wouldn't say this. They wouldn't specify a country. And the reason for this, why we're doing this, is that we actually do regional work too. Say, we have I'm from Ankara, and our mayor just decided to make buses 24/7. This is actually like 2 months ago, but yeah, I just want to give it an example. The bar revenues change due to that, and we follow these type of news, like changes in legislation, law, just not just like numbers. We try to explain why changes in numbers occur from different aspects of it, so that Oracle and other big firms don't do that. So we look at the legislations, what changed, and then try to explain how that altered your revenue and so on. So yeah, and other companies don't do that.
Okay, so the differentiation you're saying is going to be in the analytics piece.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm afraid we're really going to have to wrap up for questions there. Sorry, Kerry, to cut you from that one. We will come to you first next time around. Thank you, Nihat, for answering all those questions in so much depth.
Yeah, thank you.
We will have to move on. Round of applause. We'll see you out. There we go. Lovely. Right, we will need to move on to our next pitch now. That is with Dan Hutchings and his business htubs.com. Dan, are you ready to kick off?
Yes, I am. Sure. I'll just try to share my screen.
Yeah.
If anyone could let me know if that's working.
It is indeed. We can see your screen.
Brilliant.
Whenever you're ready.
Sure. So good afternoon and welcome to my pitch on my company, HTubs. So just over a year ago, I started my first company, Cornwall Hot Tub Hire. And I started Cornwall Hot Tub Hire by simply buying an inflatable hot tub and renting it out through Facebook Marketplace. Since then, I've grown my fleet to 9 hot tubs, and I've completed 150 hires and generated just over £16,000 in revenue. And since starting Cornwall Hot Tub Hire, I've realized that the demand for hot tub hires is increasing and that there is not enough hot tub hiring companies to meet this demand. And what I believe is a solution to this problem is my company, HTubs. And HTubs is a website that matches hot tub owners with potential customers in a similar way that Airbnb matches homeowners with holiday goers. So what is HTubs from the customer's point of view? So HTubs is a user-friendly marketplace that will allow a customer to hire a hot tub anytime and anywhere. And the screenshot shown on the right is a snapshot taken from the HTubs website. And as you can see, if a customer would like to view if a hot tub is available in their area, they simply enter in a postcode and the dates that they would like to hire their tub, and the search engine will then show what tubs are available in their area. So what is HTubs from the owner's point of view? So from the owner's point of view, HTubs is a user-friendly platform that is a potential source of income. And in addition, the platform accommodates for flexible pricing plans. And in addition, the platform could even be an incentive for individuals to buy their own portable hot tub and rent it out as an additional source of income. So the snapshot on the right-hand side shows a dashboard, well, an example of a dashboard once an owner has listed their tub on our site. And as you can see, they can easily view their bookings, their messages with customers, their wallet, and hence their earnings, as well as their coupons if they wish to add that in, and of course their reviews from customers. So how is HTubs different? So HTubs is the first ever hot tub hiring marketplace, and the competitive nature of the marketplace will keep costs to the customers down to a minimum. In addition, the review system on the platform will ensure transparency with the quality of each owner's tub, as well as the service that they provide. And as I've mentioned, the flexible pricing plan options for hot tub owners will allow them to add in any extras that they might own, such as gazebos or waterproof speakers. And in addition, I would like to offer hot tub owners a flexible insurance policy for their hires. And currently, that's one of my biggest challenges at the moment. To date, I've got one insurance provider on board. Sadly, his insurance policy is not as flexible as I would really like it to be. And in the future, I'd like to get several insurance policies on board with the platform, and hence it would give the hot tub owners a lot more choice to choose which one best suits them. So how will I reach my customers? So to sort of get hot tub owners to join the platform, I am looking at targeting Facebook groups of hot tub owners, with some groups on Facebook having as many as 17,000 hot tub owners in the UK alone. In addition, I will be looking at paid advertising on YouTube channels, as well as other social media platforms. And to get potential customers to join the site, again, I'll be looking at paid advertising on social media, as well as other forms such as mobile billboards. So the current market in the UK consists of about 100 hot tub hiring companies, which are relatively similar to Cornwall Hot Tub Hire, each of which averages about 150 hires in a year with £100 a hire. And I expect the market to increase at least 20% year on year as more people become aware that the service is available. And HTub's aim is to attract 20% of the hires in the industry to come through my platform. And how will HTubs make money off of these hires? Well, it's relatively simple in that we take a 10% booking fee from every hire that comes through the platform. And in addition, we'll make a small amount of money on an introducer agreement for our insurance providers. And the graph on the right is just a graph of our estimated gross profit if HTubs manages to get the 20% of the hot tub hiring hires to come through the platform. So what's to come? So at the moment, I would like to ask for £1,500 of funding for HTubs from the Exeter Engineers and Business competition, of which the vast majority of this will go towards an initial advertising campaign, which I plan to launch on the 17th of May, which is in line with the government easing of restrictions in England. And in the much longer term, I would really like to see HTubs firstly expanding into different countries, and even more so, I would like to see HTubs expanding into more products aside from hot tubs. So thank you for your time, and feel free to check out htubs.com if you ever want to hire a hot tub, or if you want to know any more. But yeah, thanks a lot for listening.
Brilliant. Thank you, Dan. That was a fantastic pitch. And I have to say, I have already been onto htubs.com to see if I can hire a hot tub, and I'm not in the right area, Dan. So we need to get some more people recruited to the site.
No, sorry. Not quite ready to go yet, but I will be.
There we go. No, that's brilliant. Thank you so much. I think it's really great how you obviously started with Cornwall Hot Tub Hire, and that helped you identify this kind of like new much more scalable market that was out there waiting for you. So yeah, I think that's really interesting, and I'm sure the judges will be interested too. Kerry, I missed you off last time. Would you like to take pole position on this one?
Just, is it essentially Airbnb for hot tubs? Am I getting that right?
Yes,
Very
to be
simple
completely
parts.
honest, that was when I first started thinking of the idea, that was the exact way that I thought of it, and I'm really pleased with the way that everything's come out. I mean, it's quite new, the site and that, so I'm really pleased with it. There's obviously still minor glitches and bugs which I need to get through, but it's almost ready to go. I mean, we'll have the site finished in the next week or so, hopefully, if all goes to plan.
And then just one question related to that. Airbnb obviously works because the property doesn't move, whereas your property, should we say, the hot tub, will be moving around the country or the local area. So yeah, you're going to have to partner with quite a lot of transportation or delivery drivers, let's say. So how do you plan on being able to manage that stock inventory when it's going to be fluctuating so much, as well as cleaning and repairing if necessary the hot tub?
Okay, so sorry, I obviously didn't make that too clear if you're asking that question. So what HTubs is, it allows anyone who owns a hot tub to rent it out. So so Cornwall Hot Tub Hire and I will be doing no setting up, etc. It will be a hot tub owner who does that. So they will go and do the setup themselves, and they will clean the hot tub themselves. And any money that's made from that hire goes to them. And we take the 10% commission on each of those hires. And we are there in terms of support. If they need to contact us, there will be a helpline available, but the majority of the hands-on work is done by the hot tub owner.
Yeah, okay, I'll let somebody else ask some questions.
Lovely. Hash.
Dan, again, great pitch, and glad to see you've made a lot of progress with your idea. Who's going to be the main supplier on the marketplace? Is it going to be individual families or folks who are kind of wealthy enough to have a hot tub? And then I'm kind of wondering do they have the time to go and deliver a hot tub and then clean it afterwards? Is that actually what they want to do? Or is it going to be, I don't know, professional, businesses who may own several hot tubs, and actually that's their business? So it would be good to get a bit of insight into that. And then I just had a second question in terms of just understanding, your team and how you've been developing your website and software and getting this progressed quite quickly. It'd be good to understand more about that. Thank you.
Yeah, sure, Hish. So good question there. So initially, I think that it will be hot tub hiring companies such like Cornwall Hot Tub Hire. I mean, there are tens of other hot tub hiring companies out there, and from experience, I was always happy to, if someone bought a customer to me as Cornwall Hot Tub Hire, I was more than happy to pay them a commission on that hire. And so I don't think that I will have any problems with bringing in those hot tub hiring companies and them paying a % of their hire towards me, essentially, or towards HTubs. They wouldn't know that it's me or Cornwall Hot Tub Hire. And in the longer term, I would hope to attract individual hot tub owners. So these are portable hot tubs. They're inflatable, and they are not that expensive as you might think that they are, but they cost in the region of 400 to 500 pounds brand new. And they recently, I don't know the exact figure on it, but the demand has been so high that Lazy Spa, the company who produce them, can't produce enough. So you actually can't even buy one if you go to a shop or anything. The demand is so high. So they have sold tens and tens of thousands, and hence the market, I know, is there on the owner's side. I know that there are a lot of people out there who own them, and they've just never been given the opportunity to hire them out through a platform. And we would walk them through, here are several insurance providers, this is what you need to do, and you can make you set your own price. If you want to charge, my average price is probably £110 for a weekend for a hire. So if you're sitting on one of these inflatable hot tubs at home, I would imagine that a lot of people would think, well, why not? Let me list it and make a bit of money off of it.
Yeah. And look, I think so it's a B2B sell primarily. It's kind of neat. I think it's quite niche. So I think about, and it seems, I think you can do it quite quickly probably, is, you can also probably hire, I don't know, bouncy castles or, marquees for your garden and all sorts, right?
No, for sure. The only reason why HTubs is going for hot tubs is purely because I know the market really well. I know pretty much the ins and outs of hot tubs. I mean, through my hot tubs that I own and through my hires, etc. So I know all of the issues with them. I know what owners have to consider and X, Y, Z. So in the long term, I would love for HTubs to become a rental platform that competes with the bigger players one day.
Great, thank you.
Fantastic, thank you. Colin.
I think the comparisons with Airbnb are obviously very explicit. I'd be really interested to see how much you've really read into the challenges that Airbnb have had over the years, such as some fairly high-profile legal contestation around things like earnings. Do they count as B&Bs? Therefore, should people be filing that? And you can see that although some of these things are relatively low cost, and obviously if there's an existing hot tub company, they should be registered. But if an individual can earn upwards of thousands of pounds a year through hiring a consumer good, are they earning? Is that a tax issue? Does that make you liable? Does it make them liable? So it'd be really interesting to see, how much you think that plays an important part in what you're doing.
Yeah, sure. So what I have focused on a lot is insurance. So insurance, A, for the hot tub owner, and B, for HTubs as a company. So HTubs is a limited company. So I'll just put that out there now, that I wouldn't be held responsible if HTubs ever did get sued. It would fall back onto the company. But I think that that's only something which I can learn once it comes off the ground and takes off, if it ever does.
Okay, excellent.
Emily, we've got about 60 seconds left, if that's all right. Hand over to you.
Sorry, I keep losing my mouse to unmute. Yeah, it was more just a suggestion. So I don't know if you know Maxwell, who's in the incubator cohort. He's also based down in Cornwall and has the surf hire. So he's working closely with Airbnb owners so that if people want to also book surfboard rental and wetsuits and stuff before they go. And I wondered if you'd looked into that at all, whether in terms of actually having kind of partnerships with Airbnb, so if they've got guests already staying, or if the owners wanted to hire the tubs as like an additional feature of the owners staying with them, then that could be something they could add on.
Yes, yeah, I did. That was more part of Cornwall Hot Tub Hire side, and I have tried that several times, not necessarily through Airbnb, but I have tried to go to various holiday parks and have contacted tens and hundreds of them to try and say, basically, listen, I will come and do the setups for you, and it'll be hassle-free, etc. And it has worked in some cases, and it also works with individual individual owners of houses where they rent it out. It's a lot bit more difficult to do it through Airbnb. It's a massive platform, and they very quickly turn down any proposals like that, which I have tried, but I quickly realized that it's not the right way to go about it. And yeah, that was pretty much my conclusion, which I came to on that.
Yeah, thank you.
Great suggestion there. Lovely. Well, thank you, Dan. Thank you for your pitch.
There we go. Thanks, guys, for listening.
Fabulous, thank you. Right, we will move on then. Everyone can panel can take a short breath. We are about to move on to our penultimate pitch of the day from another fantastic engineer. We have James Tetlow, who will be presenting his business, Zama Digital. James, are you ready to go ahead and share your pitch?
I am.
Perfect. Well, whenever you are ready, we will hand over to you.
Brilliant. Good afternoon, my name's James Tetlow and I'm the founder of Zama Digital, and we offer a machine monitoring solution for manufacturing SMEs. Sorry. So what is the problem? The average rate of machine utilization is only 28.7% for manufacturers. With the gold standard being around 80%, there is a large disparity between best in class and the average, and we want to help bridge that gap. The reason this occurs is manufacturers often don't fully understand what their machines are doing. This is because they don't have access to accurate data, leading to inefficiencies in core decision making, which can result in significant downtime and a reduction in competitiveness of the business. It also means companies may make unnecessary equipment purchases as they're not utilizing their machines that they have already effectively. So what is our solution? So we have a low-cost retrofitted sensor that plugs into the manufacturing equipment or plants. It looks at whether the machine is operating or not. It sends that information via Wi-Fi to a cloud-based platform where you can view your data in real time through our website on a tablet or computer. Examples of machines we have fitted to a modern CNC mill, laser cutter punch, to your oldest machine in the factory, so we can really digitize every aspect of your plant or factory. The data is displayed on dashboards such as these. In the top right, you can see the real time if your machine's running or not. You can understand your cycle time in the table, and also the percentage utilization and your hours of uptime and downtime, which is very important for manufacturers. So the benefits: you can easily collect and harness data from all your manufacturing equipment, no matter age, make or model. Data displayed as real time in a usable format for instant analysis. So you can set a process improvement program for your factory to reduce machine downtime, optimize and increase capacity utilization, and ultimately increase your profits. So what's the opportunity? Well, 2/3 of manufacturers have recently accelerated their digital projects, and 92% of manufacturers say their most significant business imperative is improving operational efficiency. With the COVID-19 pandemic, there's never been a more important time to leverage data and embrace automation, as business owners are finding themselves off-site, yet still wanting to know how their factory is performing. And with over 270,000 small SME manufacturers, there's a very large opportunity. So how are we going to approach that market? We're based in Norfolk in East Anglia, and there's 14,000 manufacturing companies there. And we believe it's a great place to start expanding. In 5 years, we'd look to gain over 400 customers. This would include roughly 1% of the East Anglia market, as well as the wider UK market, which we believe is very achievable. So who are our competitors? There are a number of competitors. However, they're not targeted towards the manufacturing SME. With prices of over £1,000 per machine per year, this is simply unaffordable. Worma, who would be our closest competitor on price, they have a server-based platform, meaning that you cannot connect their data they collect with different systems, which means there's real lack of scalability in the future, and there's a lack of ability that you can get to really enrich your data. So our business model: we have a one-off payment for the hardware, followed by a subscription-based model for access to the cloud-based platform and data on a per machine basis. We'll offer continuous software and firmware developments and improvements which can be done remotely. We'll use our website and social media platforms to share success stories and features of our platform. We're working with local manufacturing organizations such as Heffel Innovation and NAME, so the New Angular Advanced Manufacturing and Engineering, to engage with their network. And we believe this is where we will find our first adopters. So as I mentioned, we're looking to grow to 400 companies in 5 years. In the first year, we'd make a loss, with the second 2 years making a modest profit, but the real growth is in years 4 and 5. Our progress so far. So as you've seen, we've got a fully working platform and data collection sensors. We've installed over 20 sensors at a live manufacturing site, Warren Services. We also have onboarded a second pilot site, a local plastics manufacturer, and we're actively seeking now additional pilot sites. We're going to use these pilot sites to gather data and feedback of our product so we can further develop and better meet the needs of the customers. The long-term goal would to then use the large amounts of data that we collect to use more intelligent machine learning models and also investigate energy usage of machines. So my ask of you today is for the investment of £1,500 to contribute to our software development so we can improve our offering and better meet the needs of our customers. And also introduce any manufacturer you believe may be interested in joining our pilot program, as we think we can really benefit them. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, James. That was a really slick presentation, and it's really great to hear how you're already kind of working with pilot programs to get client feedback. That's brilliant. I really like that you asked as well for those connections. So if anyone watching has connections, or anyone working in a manufacturing facility that might benefit from James's product service, then definitely get in touch with him. Put it in the chat. Lovely. Right, let's go to questions from the panel. Anyone want to wave at me wildly? No. Hirsch, as you're our guest judge, should we come to you first?
Sure. Great, excellent, James. And again, yeah, just to build on what Jenny said, I thought it was a really articulate and very well put together and thought through pick. So well done. As an SME business in the UK, manufacturing is tough. And so it's a tough spot. So how are you, and I guess I've got two questions on that. So, how easy has it been to convince SMEs to come on board? Is it a challenge? Is it too hard? And I guess maybe the second question then is, given you've got this really interesting IoT technology, what else can you do with it? Perhaps with a customer base that might be a bit more, let's just say, maybe I've got kind of bigger wallets, perhaps. So have you thought about where else this could be? But anyway.
Yeah, so in terms of people like SME manufacturers wanting it, they understand at the moment that if they're not competitive within the market, they're going to lose out and potentially go out of business. So the way in which they're going to get those tangible benefits is from understanding their data and their machines. If I ask them what level of utilization do you work out, quite a lot of them will say 70. I go, how do you know? You plug it in, it's down at more towards that average level, the 28% I pointed out at the beginning. If they can then use our tool to make process improvements and increase that number, they're ultimately going to make more money and be more competitive. So it's up to us to show them the benefits that they can have by monitoring their solutions. In terms of what else we can do, I'm really glad you asked. So the first company we're working with, Warren Services, our platform has open APIs, which basically means you can take the data from our platform and share it with other systems. So you can get very creative. So we are integrating that with their MRP or their ERP system, which is where they plan the jobs. So they can see what jobs on what machine at what time and compare their predicted performance to their actual performance. Those predicted and actual, they'll then see the difference, and next time they do the job, they can make adjustments. Therefore, they're going to be planning more effectively and understand and use their machines and time better to make them a more efficient and profitable factory. And then going beyond that, you can then, once you've got large data sets, you can use machine learning to predict how long things are going to take. But you need a significant data set to be able to make those learnings.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Colin, over to you.
Okay, so I got two questions. One of them's highly technical first. How much have you considered other data sources in forming this? So essentially creating digital twins to understand the impact of other things that are happening. So obviously manufacturing is something where utilization of machines can obviously be affected by, well, let's face it, Brexit, with supplies of raw materials, all the way through to strikes in another country and so on and so forth, and really kind of nuanced things can really affect productivity in the manufacturing industry. So have you at all considered in the kind of expansion how you might feed other data into yours as well as your data out?
Not so much at the moment, because we feel, so what you're talking about is very, very high level stuff. But the SME manufacturing market, they don't even know if their machine's running or not. They couldn't tell you how many hours it ran for. So I think if we're being very focused on our customer, that's your future thinking at the moment isn't what they need. And there's a large proportion of the manufacturers that needs kind of the basic information and the basic data that they may or may not already have. and that's where our focus is. But the ability to combine our data sets outwards means that we can look to do that in the future. However, that's not currently part of our roadmap, no.
That's fine. I mean, it is quite an advanced thing. The other thing is quite a quick question. What kind of improvements do you think the funding will make?
The main one that I think it will make is reporting features, to be able to, at the moment, you can get reports in each machine, but to be able to group into different areas, I think that would just make the life of the user a lot easier, and to be able to bring other reports in and combine that with the data. So a more manual version of that system integration that I spoke about earlier in the previous question. And that was just going to really enhance the user experience with our platform and add more value to them.
Excellent, thank you.
Brilliant, thank you. I'm Kerry, over to you.
Yep, just really quickly, more of a statement, if there's enough time you can answer, but with the SMEs that you're targeting, it's going to be obviously dependent on the demand that they require for how long they can then operate their manufacturing processes for. So some smaller businesses, for example, may only need the 9 hours in the day, so 9 till 5 or whatever it is, to manufacture what they need to meet their demand. So have you thought about potentially taking the data that you have from businesses and maybe renting out or propositioning to those businesses that a third party comes in and uses those machines on the downtime when they're not going to need it for a fee? Because some of the small and medium-sized businesses may not actually need to operate 24/7, because that opens up a whole host of having to run shift patterns and extra staff to hire and all these different things that some smaller businesses might not even need. So have you considered third parties coming in and using those machines to maybe negate some of the other businesses that you're not currently addressing?
No, I hadn't considered that option for manufacturers. However, the same small manufacturer that might not be operating or meeting their ends meet, if they can plan more effectively and they can do the work that takes them an entire day to do in a half a day, then that's an opportunity for them to expand themselves. So by having access to that data, it will really, like you said, it opens up a lot more opportunities for them.
Brilliant. Thank you, Kerry. We are quite pushed for time. Thank you, James, so much for answering those questions. Emily, I'm really sorry to skip you. I know you
don't worry.
Work with James sometimes anyway, so hopefully I don't feel too bad about that. Wonderful. Thanks, James. Final round of applause for you. Amazing. So on to our very final pitch of the day. It's been great. But we are on to Adam Davison and his business, Vibience. Adam, are you ready to
I am.
share away with it?
Let me just get a little timer.
Perfect. Whenever you're
Hi, my name's Adam and I'm representing my company, Vibience Limited, today. Vibience comes from the two words ambience and vibe, which will kind of relate to the target market in a second. But first, a quick bit of background around me. Been 3D printing for about 5 years, mainly doing orders on demand. So say I've got 5 of these to make today, which are supercharger intakes. And during COVID, I've made about 100 rakes, fully customizable for golfers using their own rakes. This is all due to COVID, and I've been making many kind of one-off, but I finally now want to take it mainstream and have a product that I push and that can make a proper benefit and profit. So what's the product? The product is a combination of mood lighting, art, and memories. I've tried to sort the lighting out, but it'd be better with in person. I don't know if you can see anything. Can you see anything? Yeah, hopefully you can. And so basically these are 3D printed lithophanes, which are printed vertically and then in an acrylic square. This is a prototype stage, so these are 3D printed frames, and then everything's modular. So these are battery powered, so they can stick on the wall as a unit and there's no cables. And then furthermore, they're RGB, so every color of the rainbow can be chosen, and then the remote can toggle each light. They're currently cycling. These are printed in PLA or PETG, which is recyclable and made from cornstarch, so pretty eco-friendly. So they're unique because they're basically new to the market. I hope you haven't ever seen something like this on the market, especially at least not mainstream. And so it's basically after the disposable income of young adults, because it's not needed, it's just a luxury. However, we'll get onto that. So they're fully customizable, just based on an image, and then they go from there. So market validation. So basically I made a couple of these for some friends, and they really liked them, and I thought I'd try and make a bit of money out of it. So currently on the market, there's only these similar things on Etsy, but they're very kind of slow to reply, one-off, not very reproducible, etc. So these might take like 2 weeks to turn around with a lot of questions, but I want to cut out that faff, get an image, make it square and print it and get it shipped. A similar item or similar ambience would probably be something like Polaroids on a fairy light. So you've got the light making the ambience and then the Polaroid making the memories. And then again, similar with Moonpig, you know, they took something basic like a card, put your image on it, and they can have a really nice markup because it's something worth keeping and memorable. And here's a little stat that last year home improvements went up 15% in expenses. So initial cost, so I can make these tomorrow, and I've kind of pre-sold 15 or so. I'm just waiting on a supplier for the acrylic to ship them. But this is 20 by 20 cost breakdown, so that's the bigger size. So a pessimistic price is about £13.81, and that's including no discounts and just a batch of 50 being paid for. And then with these respectable price points, these are the respective profit margins and percentage, which is quite a nice 31% if they're sold for £20 and it's, you know, 54% respectively. Initially on this kind of first 50 is kind of to gauge interest. I've got 50 lights from China, and you know, I can make the products approximately 2 a day, which is a limiting factor at the moment. So 2 a day, that's a turnover about £60 a day, hopefully, in best case scenario, but reasonably it can make about one printer can make about £300 to £800 profit per month currently, with no new printer, just what I've got. However, the dream is always to scale. You know, social media, you can reach so many contacts, and also omni-channels, you can go B2B. So the dream would be to scale to 40 by 40, which is double the dimension of this in both ways. And then this allows B2B because you can sell to kind of clubs, bars, kind of a home cinema behind a settee, and really just have a luxury item. And this just enables a huge potential for a big markup, because the price is quite linear and increasing. But I believe the margin, when you see something like a painting or LEDs, the margin could be 300% quite comfortably. And then furthermore, because you scale the nozzle size, the time scale of the print is still the same. I could still make about 2 a day. So each printer could make, you know, 2 units a day, possibly selling for £100 a piece. So realistically, that means a £1,200 printer, which would be of my creation, could turn over about £400 a week. And that's at half capacity. However, of course, they can run all night with no help, which is just, you know, a huge expansion for these desirable products. And that's the dream. I just envision it anywhere and everywhere. So to help me with this kind of more luxury target, I've contacted a third-year student at Edinburgh who's studying business and enterprise with innovation, and he's really keen on coming on board to help me pitch it to these companies. And you know, because obviously a higher price tag means you've got to have a sales point, which you know, would need a website and a bit of face-to-face contact. And furthermore, I had a contact with a distributor in France who's also interested, but is awaiting a prototype before putting in some money. And I just want to conclude this quickly with, you know, what am I asking for? Well, first, I'm asking for just any advice on selling luxury items. And secondly, of course, I'm asking for an investment to enable me to prototype big products, which represents about this size. So thank you for listening, and any questions?
Brilliant. Thank you for your pitch, Adam. It was great, really visual. Really nice to see, yeah, really nice to see the product in action. I think I'm probably mentally decking out my house as we speak. Just before we hand over to the panel, I'm just interested, have you already sold some of these? Because obviously you've talked through quite a lengthy timeline in terms of...
Yeah, so I basically pre-sold about 15 to 20 of the 50 I have, but I didn't want to give them 3D printed ones. I wanted to contact, well, I've had a couple contacts in Marsh Barton, but they've kind of pulled out. So I'm now contacting a bigger company to get 50 made on the spot, because I just want to have a really good feedback of the proper product to then take on further and take on forward.
Okay, so that's not ones you're making yourself?
Oh, no, everything's been made in-house.
Right.
Just the frame, that black plastic bit, will be made out of black acrylic or any color that I want to sell.
Okay, interesting. Right, anyway, sorry, I won't take up any more time. Panel, who would like to take the first question? Emily? I know I left you out last time.
No, that's okay. Thank you for your presentation. It was really, yeah, it's very visual, and it's really interesting that you've kind of developed this and that you've already taken those steps in terms of actually getting those pre-orders. I think that's great. I had a couple of questions, just in terms of the sort of sustainability of the materials and environmental impact, and just thinking, people are much more concerned with understanding that, the kind of life cycle of products, and I just wondered if you have any more detail about.
Yeah, so the plastic part is PLA, which is made from cornstarch, I think, and like if you chuck it in the mud, it will be gone in 90 days. However, it's good to 60C, so it's fine for a windowsill or anything. And then furthermore, everything's modular, so you could punch out the PLA of your ex-boyfriend and put in a new one, which would be funny. But to add to that, the batteries are fit for AA, but I can easily source rechargeable AAs. But then the dream would be, if I went for a bigger one, you could justify that cable to the floor because it'd be behind a sofa, or it's much easier to hide. And then that's the so yeah, everything's interchangeable and it's recyclable. I think acrylic's recyclable.
Yeah, because I mean, I think certainly that's something to highlight, when you're talking to people about the product, and also when you're selling it. If you're not already, then I think that's a really
thank you. Thanks for that feedback.
And my other just quick note was you should definitely join one of our programs. I think it would be really interesting to have you on the programs and kind of that would be really good. Any of you who are not, then it's an open invite. But it would be great to work with you on sort of developing it and putting in place like the kind of steps to get you to where you want to be in future.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Perfect.
Yeah.
No, always plugging the student startup program. It's good.
Always.
Colin, you're waving. Let's go to you.
Hi, we always plug student startups. So I think it's a great idea. It's a luxury item, and I think I agree with Emily. I think some real consideration about how to make it a little bit more accountable in modern society would be really handy. And I think luxury items are becoming much more scrutinized. It hasn't got a place. Love the fact that you might punch out your ex-boyfriend's picture. The cost breakdown was really, really good, but I didn't see shipping.
Shipping was in the £13.81.
Was it?
Yeah, so that was, I think it was £2.79. So that's actually quite a big chunk of the fee.
I was going to say it does tend to be, yeah.
If I sold it obviously in like a batch of 3, 3 for 50, it would actually be quite a nice product, price range.
So my questions then really are, how do you see scale? Because you've talked about scale in terms of markets, but and you've also highlighted that your biggest obstacle is you only being able to produce a certain amount. So how do you see that scale changing?
So absolutely. So because of the nature of 3D printing, the dream is to go, less product but better, bigger margins, and that's obviously because it's not like an injection molding. Without any kind of investment in space or employees, I could personally handle like at least 10. So in terms of anything other than finance, everything can be scaled without any help. And then furthermore, in terms of time, you set off one of these printers. I've made them like these prints I've timed to be like 11 hours. So every 12 hours I can attend. So pretty much the scale is negligible in time. Like I could set off 5 just as easy I can set off 1. And then the only difference would be, packaging and dealing with the customers.
Excellent. And I've got one last thing. Is there a reason why they're 3D printed?
Yeah, so like a 3D image is kind of, it's obviously more nicer in person. They just give this,
I mean, like sorry, as opposed to potentially cheaper mass-produced
so let me show you. You just couldn't get the text like the. Hopefully this. So this is my parents on holiday. I was given permission. Something like that, I don't think you can mass produce because every single one can be different.
Fine.
So it's just like a photo. You can't. It's not cost effective to mass produce.
Yeah, fine. Yeah, it's just good to know. Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you, Colin, for your question. Harsh, shall I pass to you? You've got a question for Adam?
Okay. Adam, thanks a lot for your pitch, and again, very, very different, and really, really exciting to see the innovation that's happening. My question really, and I was thinking about it, is how do we convince ourselves that it's a sustainable business as opposed to kind of an impulse fad for a little while, and people might buy it for a few months and it'll be exciting. But actually, how do you see it being a long-term business that's going to be around in 10 years' time? What is it? Where do you need to move to for that to happen?
Sure. I mean,
and I think the other part of that is actually maybe something needs to change in the way people think about it as well. But it'll be good to hear your thoughts on that. Yeah,
sure. I mean, ultimately, it's almost just wall art, but with the idea of also being lights. Lights have always been around, wall art's always been around, bedside lights have always been around. I feel like my product fits a lot of categories, so it can easily be adjusted. And furthermore, I haven't really mentioned marketing, but I feel like social media these days, a couple of good photos on social media could really advertise it. And then, like you say, would it dribble out and die? Well, on the other hand, like there is no personal commitment to it. I would have to, when I print these, I press print and come back in 12 hours and ship it. So like, I've got 5 superchargers to make. They're printing right now. I'm going to send them off in £100 tonight. Like, it's such a different strategy to mass manufacturing. There is no investment into storage. There is no investment into that plastic. If I go bust tomorrow, I can make car parts the next day. I know that's not the idea of Vibience, because I want to push it to like the big screen, going to bars and restaurants and selling them, like one behind every booth or one behind the vodka. There's just so many avenues I need to explore. It's quite hard to just say them now, but I'm quite confident that I can drag out a business from it and a brand.
Brilliant. Okay. Yeah, thank you very much.
Lovely. Thanks for that question, Harsh. Kerry, do you fancy finishing off the questions today?
So I'll just do very, very nice student to end with as well, Adam. Not because he was one of my students. I'm not biased in any way, shape or form. But I would say, as far as what Hirsch was saying with the branding aspect of it, you brought up Moonpig as an example of the sort of personalization and the route that they've gone. Why couldn't your business go down the same route of birthdays, Christmases, and all of that sort of things where you can add something on? I know you're thinking, I've already mentioned that, but that's the whole thing of trying to go down the more birthday and personalization route. And you could also put in almost like a puzzle. It only just came to me when you were talking that rather than having one image, have you seen those like sort of, I don't know what they call it, Hollywood lights, where you can spell whatever you want by slotting in certain characters or boxes? You could do that. You could go down that route and have photos to slot in. So you could have a montage of different smaller pictures and you could create your niche market around that. But I would say approaching the Moonpig sort of side of things is probably better than the Etsy independent side.
Yeah, I definitely want to push the product. So to just say, the first prototype was a much smaller version. And at first I thought I'm going to get around the shipping problem by having them super thin and not having a frame. And then make the profit on, say, sending it with chocolates or sending it with flat, like, something small, just like Moonpig. Like, the printing is just the foot in the door, and then other products is making the money. But then I just came across that's intensive in terms of my time, because I'd be flipping them out, going to the shops. So initially, just like with electric cars, I feel like it's better to target the, upper market and then dribble it down, because the small ones, I think they cost about £1 to make, and I maybe could sell them for £10, but I have to attend it 6 times a day, or 10 times a day.
Yeah, no, I completely understand that, but it would be better and quicker for you as well if you could sell the smaller ones and have that body to interchange them as well, because then you could increase your production and then also have people just spend a couple of quid here or there, and your turnaround will be a lot quicker as well then. But that's just a suggestion.
Yeah, no, every product's on the table because ultimately there's no commitment to any size. So, you know, I just like with, I've got this side light and this side light, I could send out some, gauge feedback, and then see where it goes.
Emily,
I know we're really short on time. No, it was making me think when you're talking, I was thinking earlier when you talk about the price point, that in one of our workshops, we had a really interesting guest speaker come along, and he was talking about how you price products and how you put value on something. And actually that something, it's not always about what it costs for you to make, but the perceived value that customer sees when they see the products. And I think that because it's something unusual, I think it'd be really interesting to test out and maybe go in higher than you think people might pay, particularly if you're, you know, if you were going to say that you want it to be quite a sort of luxury product. And I just think you might be surprised that people might think that that's really good value for something that is personal, that is totally different, that would make a really good gift. And then you can, and if you find people aren't paying for that, then you can kind of go down from that point. But you know, it's much better to do that than to go in low and then try to increase it later.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. Yeah, no, really useful thoughts and suggestions to you there, Adam. That was fantastic. Thank you for your pitch. Right, well, there we have it. Thank you so much to everyone that presented their ideas today. I think one final, go on, just do it, indulge me. One final round of applause. You were all fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you to our fantastic panel for all their questions and insights. I know I found it incredibly interesting, and I hope you guys came away with some great ideas as well. We will be hastily totting up scores and feedback, so we will be announcing winners and results and things, action plans moving forward for you at the beginning of next week. Just a reminder, if you do have any feedback for your fellow presenters, you can pop stuff in the chat. We'll be hanging around for a minute, or do email us at studentstartups@exeter.ac.uk. Equally, visit the Student Startups website if you're not already engaged on the programme and you want to find out how. Go to the website or get in touch with us directly, and we'd love to kind of work with you because you're all fantastic. So that's brilliant. Just a last fantastic thank you to our guest speaker, Hirsch, for joining us today from the Sainsbury Management Fellows. You're fab. It was great to have you here. Really great to have your insight. If you want to find out more about the work that Hirsch does with Engineers in Business Fellowship, visit eibc.org.uk. I'll put all of this in the chat in just a moment. Or perhaps Julia can fill in that gap for me. There we go. There it is. There's the details. Brilliant. Anyway, thank you so much to everyone that's come along today, and have a fantastic rest of your day. I think Emily might have something to finish with.
No, I just wanted to thank you, Jenny, because you've done so much work putting all this together and of working with all the teams and doing run through pitches and giving feedback and just getting people excited about it and getting people involved. So thank you for all your work.
Oh no, it's been amazing to work with everyone. It's just, yeah, you're all great. So I've enjoyed everything. I'll leave you to the rest of your day. Sorry to overrun. Thank you to the panels. Thank you to you all. Goodbye.
Thank you very much. Thank you. All great ideas.
Take care, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.